I think during this podcast, I might cut some speed holes.
Yes.
Nice. Can you?
Okay, so I didn't know what speed holes were, and I feel like you're gonna have to describe them. But
Yeah.
I literally just learned 24 hours ago. You posted, I think it was Liam, and he had it on his sweatshirt. It's like speed holes gone too fast,
Too far.
too far.
So I get up at like 4 a.m. I come out here. I move my car out. So this is Karim Gym North. This is a garage gym.
You're peaking as a dad, by the way.
Thank you.
Like you have your garage in place now.
My garage is all set, and also with all the stuff hanging from the walls, it feels like I've lived here for like 10 or 20 years. We've been here for like 5 weeks.
Right.
It's amazing.
That's also what shocked me is when I came here the first time, you were like, yeah, we moved in a week ago. And this was like
Done.
And I was like, oh.
This was step one.
Well, I think early on, I could tell my wife Goldie was like pumped about the home decor stuff, planning a blank slate stuff.
She made a bench.
She
made a bench.
Shout out.
It's black, and I've never seen it in person.
If you're watching this, wondering if the Backpocket podcast bros do their homework, they do. That's a reference to my wife's social media where she was very proud that she built a bench.
It's like a 3-minute video. I watched the whole thing. It's like, holy shit, she made a bench. It fits perfectly. It's like 8 foot.
Which also strategically might get my wife to listen to at least this far into this podcast.
Right. There it is.
That's it, honey. We're done talking
That's
about
it,
you.
yeah.
Thanks for coming.
It's enough Goldie talk. Now back to his gym.
All right, so I get
back to the garage.
I get up early. There's some alone time as a dad. We have a two and a half year old. It's quiet. I pour a cup of coffee, check social, hang out, whatever I want, and come out here, move the car, light some incense, just kind of get the vibe. I go to the whiteboard. I write up a workout or something's still up there or whatever. I write the list of who's coming. So that list says who dis. It says Declan, Andrew, Patrick, Shira, BG. So just for kind of flow through, obviously COVID era, you kind of want at least the 6 feet kind of, if you can. Mm-hmm. Masks required in the garage. You can crack a breath in the driveway and definitely on the run, some of the running stuff. But then
talking hush tones.
Mm-hmm. The music's pretty low. We try not to wake up my wife. We almost always do. Okay, so that's Karim Gym North, right?
Yep.
And what you're talking about, though, the speed holes, is that I had this big chunk of sage, which for those of y'all who don't know, it's like kind of like this incense bundle of sage that's dried, and it's about the size of your fist. And you kind of walk it around the space. It's kind of yogic. It's kind of some meditative shit, right? Well, I put it down outside, and Liam just put his sweatshirt on top of it. And it's dark in the morning, and so there's just lack of communication. So, like, halfway through the workout, like, we're all kind of smelling this funky smell. This is like 2 days ago. His sweatshirt was on fire. So there's a lot of things going on in fitness. These days, but people lighting their clothes on fire during a workout, next level. I think that's next level. But the speed holes, cutting holes in the backs of these Karim Gym North shirts is very tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of making fun of and giving props to a very famous marathon runner named Galen Rupp. He's an American. He's one of the fastest that we have. And in 2016, he won the Olympic trials in Los Angeles and then went to, 2016, and then went to Rio, right?
Okay.
And in Rio, he raced in this Nike singlet where they'd cut all these holes that are like the size of like a quarter. They must have cut 100 of them in this shirt. And I just think that's so fucking funny that there's a guy who's so fast at running that they're like, well, we got to cut up his shirt.
Right.
The shirt is slowing him down.
Oh, it's the shirt's fault.
It's the shirt's fault. Or the flip way of talking about that is like, if we cut this shirt up, this guy could win. So anyway, some of the stuff we posted, and the reason we're cutting holes in the backs of these Karim Gym North shirts is because, like, we're a bunch of recreational athletes. And isn't it funny that we need the breathability in the back of these cotton tees?
Have to.
One question before we get going. I feel like we've gotten going. Do you know what number guest I am?
280. It will depend on when we release it because we're recording 5 this week.
Okay.
But it's going to be 287 to 293.
Let's just call it. Yeah, 287.
287.
287.
Yep.
Wow. Do you remember guest number 1?
Yep.
Who was it?
Mal Jensvold. She was like our good friend in college.
What a name. Say the name again.
Mal.
Mal.
Mal short for Mallory.
Yeah.
Jensvold. Yeah.
We call it the Valentine's Day special.
Yeah.
February 13th, 2017.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
And have you ever, because everyone's like, who are the guests that really stand out? Who are your favorites? What are some favorites? I don't care. What were the ones, and you don't have to say them by name, but are there some that come to mind that were like a disaster?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Like a dozen of them that are like you wish you could zap and make them
Not
go
a
away.
dozen.
No, not a dozen. Not
A
like
handful.
It's a small handful.
Yeah.
But they're memorable. They're equally memorable, right?
Yeah.
Reach into like the bag of Smart Pop and pull that out. I would say the amount of popcorn you have within the palm of your hand. That's how many bad podcasts we've had.
Yeah. And so without bringing up their names, because that'd be bogus, you both know, because you know as great friends of each other, I mean, you know which ones you're thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
for
love
sure.
that.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
And it sometimes plays when we go outside of our studio. The uncomfortability, the vulnerability of going into a new space, because we like our dojo,
Of course.
but we love to bring this out here because we have now portable equipment.
Yeah.
So entering a new space and seeing if we can capture the back pocket mentality inside a new little area is always fun, but sometimes we fail.
Well, sure. And catching that rhythm. One of my favorite metaphors in life is standing on the side of the double Dutch jump ropes. And the way that someone's eyes and sometimes even their hands are measuring the speed of the ropes before they jump in, right? I love that idea of like, okay, so we're on a boat, and now the shit's plugged in. How's this gonna go? We're podcasting on a boat. Are we recording? And we're recording.
Yep.
How quickly can you catch that rhythm and then jump right in and be in it?
Yes.
Like I think that's dope. And from what I've heard from the Backpocket podcast, you guys mostly nail it.
Right.
I think you mostly nail it.
We attempt to every
That's
time.
a great way to put it. We mostly hit our mark.
Do you have a slogan? Because that could be it. The back pocket. I know it's like in your back pocket. I know.
Yeah, right.
But if you change it, it could be, we mostly nail it.
I like that. Look, we just adopt any sort of slogan. Like we have wildly average, just wildly average anything.
Right.
It's kind of our little phrase. But I like that. Just we mostly nail it.
The Backpocket podcast. We mostly nail it. I also like that when I'm patrolling some of your socials and some of your stuff, like your listeners are they're not tourists. They're loyalists. I feel like folks that are listening to your podcast somewhat regularly are also billboards for this thing. Meaning like it's pretty common for me to catch up with y'all on socials and just see what you're up to. And there'll be like some like grizzly old dude or young person or athlete or runner or mom or someone being like Backpocket. And they can spit like an advertisement essentially for what you guys are doing. I think that's awesome. I think it just speaks a lot about, and then maybe there's some similarities with November Project where like people are out there just like pushing this community.
Right.
And it's maybe hit like a critical mass now, and not now, but maybe months ago, but like where people are out there doing some promotion for you just because they love you guys. It's so cool.
100%. We stand on the shoulders of our community.
Totally.
They help us 100%. That's why we do it. It's for the community, and then at the same time, when we were talking about this last night, when we get that little bit of reinforcement, little bit of affirmation of
Sure.
like, hey, love what you guys are doing. It's just constant like, thank you, like appreciate it. We're not going to stop. This is the good momentum.
It's good fuel source.
And it makes you guys the guys. It makes you like the faces of it, but then it also adds like a really healthy pressure for like, all right, motherfuckers, keep crushing it.
Yeah, keep it going.
Like this person, especially now, like when mental health and like when people are feeling really like siloed off from what they used to see and do and go interact in the movies and restaurants. Like now, imagine if now your podcast mattered more than ever and feeling connected to a community digitally mattered more than ever. Because I think we're living that. I mean, I hate to turn the corner and make it serious. So we'll get back to real talk.
No.
Yeah.
But right? Isn't that cool? Like you guys were a podcast, and now for some people, it's like they're waiting for the next one to drop, and it matters now more than ever. Wow, that's awesome. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll appreciate it.
I'm a fan, I think.
Well, you know what you are. You're an intern. What we call all of our listeners and the people in the community, the people that care about us, they're all interns because they market us word of mouth.
Sure.
Just naturally, like you said, people are walking billboards for the things that we do because, and they're the ones who push the community and push us forward because they care so much. Just like with November Project and seeing the passion and the vibe behind it. And I think what's really cool about it is like you almost felt intrusive by saying like we nail it most of the time, and you're like, can we make that a part of it? It's like, of course we can.
Right.
Backpocket's just a malleable representation of people who want to be a part of it.
Well, and it's constantly changing.
It's always evolving.
You're not saying you're not saying it's a fucking free for all. There are some brand guidelines and there's some things that you want to do. And I've seen your branding and people wearing the hat and people are pumped and like they can talk about keeping this thing in your back pocket and having it as a toolkit and all those things, right? But if they also add a variation or a twist, your whole direction may go that way. So like you're following the lead of your listeners and your guests, former guests, potential guests. Like, it's so cool. Anyway, that's what I got. That's what I got to say about it. And Boatchella looked like the most insane thing of all time. And being a new-ish dad, I was never going to go to that. I was never going to go. And I heard about it. I obviously on social, but I think one of you cats posted on your personal something. I heard about Boatchella, and I just shook my head and smiled and was like, happy for you dudes. And then I was like partially like a little bit like, fuck those guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and also because what we do with November Project, we're trying to be the organization that is the most concerned with health standards and COVID stuff.
Real quick, so for any listener that doesn't know what November Project
let's
is,
do that.
Brogan is the founder of co-founder of November Project,
which is a community that uses fitness to bring people together. That's kind of the most basic, but it is a morning fitness group for all levels that's free for life. Some of the requirements are that you have to be kind and that you have to work hard, whatever that definition of working hard means for you or your grandma or the dog on the leash that you bring, and so
dog has to work hard. Hold the dog accountable.
Get him up and out of bed.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So then it's rain or shine. So like even at some of the colder November Project communities, November Project Winnipeg, here in Minneapolis, Iceland, you name it.
Yeah. You're 8 or 9 different countries?
9 countries.
9 countries, all 50 states?
50. No. But it is in 52 different locations.
There we go.
And it's this idea of what if we took out the team sport mentality of the best athlete is the best and made it more about attendance and enthusiasm and togetherness. And so we have this joke that if the group was called November Project Run Club, it wouldn't have grown at all. Because people, they like to size things up and say, oh, I hate running. Well, I'm definitely not going to that. It's for runners. No, thank you. But it's a little bit elusive of like, what are the workouts, right? Like I can imagine one of you guys being like, well, what do you do? And because it's hard to explain, it's kind of like a concoction of a lot of different things, kind of boot campy, kind of run clubby, kind of cultish, definitely weird and fun and interesting. And I think the co-leaders in all 52 cities do a really good job of synthesizing how much you have to interact with the other people that are there. Like I don't spend a lot of time at Barry's Boot Camp or Orange Theory or what's the one, Soul Cycle, but like you could make your way in and out of those experiences without having met a new person, right? And I think at November Project in almost every city you can't. I'd say that's almost. You'd have to be working hard to stay that closed off.
Sure.
So you come away from it having a vivid sunrise experience, outdoors, kind of the smells of fresh cut grass, all that stuff, and this idea that you're interacting. And I think for people that are in college, they don't know a lot of like adults in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and people that are 60 don't have a lot of friends that are 20. So this idea of like, I think it's really popular in fitness right now to be like, we're all levels. I think it's cool to be like different phases of life, right? So to drop into Minneapolis the way my wife and I did with our little boy a year and a half ago, and immediately have friends that have kids that are in college. Like that's cool for me to like look at and have conversations with dads that are like, man, hold on to these stressful times with your little guy. They'll go fast. Like that's cool. I don't need bros that are 20 that are just crushing workouts. Like that's cool too.
But on the flip side, like we value your perspective as 37-year-old guy who just had his kid. Now he's in a house in the suburbs, and like we're 24. I mean, we're still crushing the workouts in your garage, but like there's that same perspective. Hey Goldie, how's it going?
This is Goldie Graham.
Hello, Goldie.
Hi guys.
How legit is this? So,
do you need a chair?
I need to take a photo. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Oh yeah.
So we're recording. Can you get her on there?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Goldie Graham. She made a bench. These guys know.
I made a bench.
we know about your bench.
Have
Right
you
in
seen
there.
it?
Yeah, I watched your video.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was
but
impressive.
You haven't seen it in real life?
I know, not yet.
No one's allowed in the house.
Okay.
Not even these podcast guys.
All right.
But I'm serving this Declan guy enough coffee that I hope he has to poop behind the shed.
Disgusting.
Yeah. But that might have to happen.
Well, that's one of the things that constitutes Karim Gym is, it's number 1 or 2 outside in the yard here.
It's number 1 or 2. And it's mostly dark in the mornings, but I'm waiting for that really awkward, like the sun is up and there's a dog walker and someone like as put together as your co-founder here is like caught peeing in the lawn.
Yeah,
I just like that.
Nothing more vulnerable than that.
How do you guys feel about his shoes?
Love them.
You do?
Love them. Yeah.
Oh,
I told
wow.
Brogan earlier today, I kind of gassed him up. I felt bad about it now, but
It's hard not
like
to talk about him.
It's hard not to talk about him,
when
but
you're
like that's
on.
exactly the vibe that I always try and go for is just like I want it's not that I want people to talk about them. Just like I want to be
Right.
different, but I want to be proud of it.
Right.
Declan's
Proud of
getting a
it.
pair of these in the mail.
Yeah,
like
they're
100%.
sick.
I don't like. I don't
If
like.
he wore
so-
my size, he could have mine.
What size do you wear?
I'm an 11.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
my size.
What are you?
10.5.
Yeah, it's not gonna
Yep.
work,
No.
bro. No, it's not gonna work. Well, I'll get you a pair. Do you want black or white?
White, preferably.
So it's called the Addiction Walker.
Okay.
And if you want to be real steezy, you leave the top strap on.
I know. I saw that. That's a sweet vibe.
Well, because the bottom strap proves that like I am into walking. Like I do walk.
Right.
Right.
You want support.
I want to be able to keep walking.
Correct.
But this shows that like I sometimes stop walking.
I don't even care.
I'll stop walking. I'll lay down right here.
Right, because insider trading knowledge, we're recovering from plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Right. So you had a massive opening for Karim Gym,
Yep.
socially distanced and everything.
Yep.
And you just partnered with Brooks, and they sent you these
Yep.
as a coup.
A little bit.
It's kind of just like, hey, we're happy you're recovering, but you're going to still need these.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So the partnership with
Well said.
the partnership with Brooks is like a year and a half into the making, and one of the main contact with Brooks on a weekly basis is a guy named Brian Fisher, and he led the November Project Seattle group for a long time. He's a friend of ours, okay, and he and I know each other just well enough that like he can ask me nice, kind, supportive things about how my injury's going. I haven't run for 6 months. It's kind of a big part of my life, and send me these as a way to be like, it's like two things. It's like supportive and funny and like kind of trashing me all in one. It's a nice little gift. But what I don't think Brian knew is that this was going to change my fashion life too.
Forever. Yeah.
There's no going back. And so then they showed up. I did wear them to the ribbon cutting for Karim Gym North.
Yes.
Trying to be an influencer. I don't think I'm going to get many of these pairs out there on the streets, but maybe.
Maybe.
But he sent me a black pair as well.
Gotcha.
Well, you sold me. I'll be
The
wearing 'em.
Addiction Walker. Just make sure you walk a lot in them.
I will. Come on, man.
How's your walking game? Are you walking a lot these days?
Oh, I'm ripping like 14,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
That's all I do is walk.
And is it on your phone or does your wristwatch go off?
Phone.
Wristwatch. You know how I know I'm 37?
Wristwatch.
Wristwatch.
I don't even own one. Should I buy into the BS? What do you
I
think?
don't know. Like the vast majority of friends through November Project are of the running world, and so everyone pretty much is already kind of wearing a Garmin
Got it.
and kind of able to kind of start. Let's go right now.
Yeah. I think it would be nice.
Yeah.
It's
Especially
good.
I've been running a lot too.
Hold you accountable a little bit.
And then there's some braggability. It's the furthest run I've been on this month. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to have that consistent feedback.
I think so.
So I want to get back to this. Now that everyone knows about the November Project, how have you attacked these new times with having to go virtual and digital and try and have that same community feel when you're not all allowed to be in the masses like you used to be?
So I have a November Project answer, and I have a Brogan Graham answer.
Nice.
The November Project answer is that we shut down when the NBA shut down, and one of the November Project communities is actually in Hong Kong, and so they had like gone through all of this shutdown stuff, and we're actually back to in-person workouts, right? So they had the COVID shutdown in January, and we're back by the time we made kind of from a corporate level, all 52 cities kind of solidarity thing, like we're all shutting down.
Yeah.
So our folks in Hong Kong were like, really? We're done with that. Like we wore the masks. We're all set.
We're done.
But they joined us. Of course, the entire community globally shut down, which is weird. I just finished telling you that rain or shine, like in 9 years, we've never canceled for weather ever.
Rain
It's
or
crazy.
shine, we still grind.
We still grind. So it was really odd being like, no, we're not. No, it's not on. It's always on, and that's part of what has made it the group like kind of reliable.
You're right.
And so what we did was really basic as far as like requirements for these cities and the things that we were asking of our leaders, because they're busy. They're all pretty spread thin. And November Project should be a fun part of their week. And so we said, as a organization, once a week, we're going to post a workout that should be or could be done by your community in any of these cities. And so we'll take turns like hosting it. So Boston will send a workout to the masses, and we'll all do the Boston workout each week. And it kind of gets our leaders off the hook a little bit. Okay, so that was the idea. we were really happily surprised that like what feels like almost all of the November Project co-leaders, we call them co-leaders, there's 2 or 3 in every city, got on Zoom and started hosting live stuff and hosting coffee after the workout, and we're doing like all these extra digital plays. So they definitely rose to the occasion. I shouldn't have been surprised. These are some really passionate people that are really dedicated to the communities that they built. So like, no surprise, like they were fucking awesome yet again, I do think, and I know that we have all experienced this in some ways, the first month or 2 of COVID was like a little bit novel as far as like, look, this is interesting. We're wearing masks. Like everything was like a little bit.
It was all new, fresh.
It was new, and it was like, how long will we do this? Probably not long.
Yeah.
Week 7. I don't know. What do you think? 10? No more than 14 weeks.
Summer comes around.
Very naive.
Yeah.
Totally. And so then somewhere where we hit that stride of like, oh, this is just how it's going to be for a while, I think that's been difficult. Because the members of November Project continue to show up to whatever their leaders put on. And our leaders, for the most part, are putting themselves together and putting out something that's really enthusiastic and cool. But it gets tough, It gets hard to continue trying to add variation to something that just isn't as good. Because if November Project was an expert at something, it was probably the togetherness vibe.
Yeah.
Fun, hooting and hollering, human contact. The group, for the most part, is like kind of a hugging, high-fiving kind of group. So let's do that digitally. It's not apples to apples. It's wildly different. So
it's a totally different realm of experience.
And then the positive way of talking about that is for folks that lived across town, for folks that have kids that could never leave their house, that could never make it, that didn't have the bus routes to get them there. Now is actually the easiest time of all time to join November Project if you have internet, right? Because there is no parking, there is no commute time. It's like you could be on a business trip, like you can still go to November Project. You can wake up early and go to the workout in London in your living room. November Project Iceland is an hour or 2 later. November Project New York City is an hour ahead of us. So you know what I mean? Like now is the easiest time to join these communities. We call it traverbaling when you're in another city. So this digital traverbal, this idea of being at a West Los Angeles workout right now at this point in the morning, having already done that in November Project Minneapolis. So it's an interesting way of mixing the community right now. And I think the level of creativity has just changed. It's just the medium is different. Our leaders are having a good time figuring out ways of bringing people together. Out in California, there's a handful of different November Project cities up and down the West Coast. And so they've taken this opportunity to create November Project California and take different turns of hosting and really collaborating that way. So like it gives leaders a little bit of a break and then a little bit of a spotlight when they're on. So those are some of the ways in which we brought people together. I will say we tried for the very first time to host a digital race. I should know the month. It felt like March, April, something, early COVID. And it was called the Sunrise 6K, and we did it through a data tracking company that's huge in the running cycling world called Strava. I'm not sure if you've heard of Strava, right? Sunrise 6K on Strava, and it was promoted just through social media and through Strava, and they're like a community partner of ours, and we're with Brooks, and it was like this kind of an experiment of like how it would work.
Yeah.
We had 17,000 people register.
Wow.
We would have been stoked on 2,500 people. 4,000, we would have been pretty like over the moon. So 17,000 people registered, and as creators of content and as thoughtful dudes, I don't care what anyone says about you. You guys are both thoughtful dudes. I know that you'd appreciate kind of what this was. So we called it a writing contest with a side of running. And so the Sunrise 6K it had to be either completed or started within 10 minutes of your sunrise. So the meridians were all the same, right? So your time zones, your sunrise was shared all the way up and down the coast. So in New York, you could be starting with the folks in Orlando, East Coast, right? And
really good time zone flex, by the way.
Right.
That was really geographically
just
sound.
Right on down. Virginia Beach, that whole like Richmond, Virginia, all the way down.
I mean, just listening to you now, I tracked you from New York down to
all the way
Orlando.
down.
I was like, I knew it.
And this idea of, on Strava, they'll tell you your miles and how fast you went and your fastest mile and all these metrics. But then there's a description box, and you can put in there anything you want. And I think most athletes, for the most part, don't fill it out. And so we really wanted to lean into that description because it takes the pressure of the athleticism off of that experience. And it became a writing contest. So we said we would pick the top 10 best of, and we'd create categories based on, you know, if there was like a couple hundred people that did poetry or something, we would do best of poetry. And so we were really honest and transparent about the fact that like we were going to make the categories as they came in. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like it wasn't like best of, you know, funny outfit. Go do funny outfits. It was like, we'll just see what you fuckers put on.
Yeah.
So best of Sunrise 6K is what it was called. 17,000 entrants. And it was one of the few times during COVID where I stepped out the door and was running by myself, but I felt this profound, it was really profound. For me, it was this profound sense of like, well, we're doing this together. We got our people together. And it was like, and I saw a couple people from November Project Minneapolis out there running, you know, with their November Project shirts on. And like, cool. we didn't stop, you know, COVID, like other sides of the running path.
Yep.
On the Greenway. But I was so psyched, you know? And then with the time zones, going back to the time zones, you know, we don't have a November Project in Cambodia or in New Zealand or in Australia, but these entries started posting as the world is turning, as these sunrise entries started coming in. So around the clock, you go to bed and wake up to run here in Minneapolis, and you look at the site, and it's like just these insanely beautiful experiences. And it's so cool when you talk to folks about running, because maybe the most boring part of the story is like, I went this fast and I did this. That's what I did.
You ran.
Yeah.
The cool part of the story is like, and then I didn't even realize that the sun would reflect off the building that way. And it's something I'd never seen. And because it's this time of year, you know, the leaves are changing or whatever. Like, it's the textures of the writing. And it was so, for me, I thought it was a really beautiful spin on a running, I guess it was a race, but it was a running experience shared by a global community, same day, same time-ish. And this idea of passing a sunrise around the globe, like, you don't have to stretch to make that poetic. Like, that's cool in itself. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Sunrise 6K. And then we don't have to get into it now, but maybe it's kind of more on the sign-off. But we do have a pretty cool activation coming up on Strava in a few weeks. That's going to be so. Yeah.
We'll put send us what's it going to be called? Do you know?
That will be called Summit Streak. Summit Streak. The November Project Summit is a gathering, one of our two big gatherings each year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this year it's canceled. It's digital. I'm sorry, it's virtual. And so it's the 31st first weekend, October, November. And the week leading up to that weekend is going to be 30 minutes of activity every day to be a part of this thing. Mm-hmm. And we're really pushing athletes in the November Project community and people that are new to it to do something different each day. Because if you look at the drop-down menu of like things like run, jog, walk, but if you keep going, it's like paddleboard,
swim,
rollerblade, swim, row. Like, it gets awesome, right? And so, okay, let's say you run on Monday. Tuesday, you should do something different.
Yeah.
You know, ride a bike, something.
Change it up.
Yeah.
Be active.
You know what, actually, real quick, you know what I love about the whole story about that 6K is you were put in a position where you had to scramble a little bit as a company, as a corporation, as a community, and everybody was scrambling at the same time. But when you all did it together, that's something that you're going to probably do for the rest of time. Like,
yeah.
There was a cool, different, again, totally different medium still together.
Right.
Everyone knows that we're going to be back to the medium we were all used to, which was show up together, rain or shine, we still grind, we still run.
Yep.
That's one medium, but you did something in a totally different world now. And I call it world, virtual world.
Yeah,
you did it together.
No, I love
you accomplished it.
I appreciate you saying that. It's like the thing that is really, it's a daunting thing to hear, but it actually makes me feel better as someone who likes to be creative. This poet that we're working with on a piece of content, a film that's coming out, said it so eloquently, and it really hit home. This is a week ago when we were having a conversation. We're not going back. We're not going back. Remember those packed bars, shoulder to shoulder? Remember the concert? Remember the mosh pit? Like, we're not going back. Like, I think that's an important thing to remember. Like, I don't care how rural you get. I don't care how burby you get. Like, big game day, the tailgates, like, it's going to be different. It might get close back to being that, but like November Project Summit, just for some context, a couple thousand people. Like, with 5 people on all sides of you doing a bounce in this kind of mosh pit loving kind of, I don't want to say cult, but like really intense experience, screaming and hugging and sweating and hanging out and partying and getting to know one another. Like, we're not going back. So it gets you off the hook and it says, okay, so now what? Blank slate. Let's do something different, you know? And I think if we all continue looking in the rearview mirror and we're just like, those were the days. I want that back. We're just spinning our freaking tires,
Right.
You know? So anyway, I will shout out Joseph Green in Brooklyn. He's the poet that I'm speaking of. And he's working with these two filmmakers from Deuster Film. We've been working with these guys to build content for the last 10 years or so. And they're collaborating on this really wild, and you guys should do this because you have the kind of audience that you could do, where it's user-generated assignments. And the question is, what does it look like to, our slogan is just show up. What does it look like to just show up in 2020? What does it look like? What does that mean to you? And the idea of just show up for so many years was like rain or shine, do the burpees, it's fitness, right? Just show up for each other, accountability. Now, what does it mean? So we're going to source this footage, photos, videos, sculptures, hand painted, drawing, whatever, all different mediums, with Joseph Green's poetry on top, talking about these times. So if you're listening to this podcast, I don't know what the working title is. We don't have the title yet done, but I think it'll be the most interesting piece of content that's November Project's ever put out.
Sweet.
Because it'll be grainy. It'll be like kind of shitty footage, you know? And his words are so powerful. Joseph LMS Green, I think that's his name on Instagram. He's one of these voices that when you hear him speak, you're just like, I can go take on the world right now.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be dope. I'm very much looking forward to that. And then going back to the Brogan Graham answer, the pivot or the kind of turn on a dime, how did the COVID switch go? How did life switch? Look, it wasn't great. Like, I'm an optimist and I'm such like the loud guy in the room and I'm always like finding the brighter side. Like, I was pretty surprised how slow I was able to turn with it. I was like, you know, I mean, like a lot of us kind of over the screen time stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good point.
And I thought like November Project Minneapolis was like a good workout, and like I was pretty good friends with some of the people there. It was very eye-opening how much I plugged in socially in small interactions. And when you take them all away, I was like really missing people. I think we all miss people, but like it wasn't the catching up with bros or going on long runs. Like as a dad, like I don't have those things. Mm-hmm. So like I thought that I liked going to the coffee shop for the coffee, but it's actually just to be around the people. The banter with the barista, like I thought I was being nice to kind of start up a conversation, but actually I'm feeding off of that too. Mm-hmm. So like it wasn't dark times, but I just remember being very stalled and a little bit embarrassed being that stalled, you know, because I want to be the guy that's like, we got this. But I was like, in early COVID, I was like, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah. Well, you're speaking on being a dad and having a family, and Declan and I were in a house with 3 other guys. There's 5 total. So we were able to like kind of get the still bro-y feel of community. We're like a WeWork Airbnb.
We turned our house into a WeWork.
Got it. Totally. Totally.
So we were able to like still push community, but we were in our heads thinking like this would be like we're in the perfect time in our lives. We're 24.
Yeah.
We have a stable job. Like we've been working 2 or 3 years in this singular job. So now the company trusts us. We're not in school where you're graduating virtually. You're
trying to find a job. And then you're not on the other side of it being early 30s. Having a lot of responsibility
on others and having to figure out, like, how is everyone going to work in this? Like, we got to be selfish in the sense of, like, we can figure out how we want to feel right now and then also vibe off of other people in our own house.
Well, the sweet spot, you hear about folks that are single living alone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, this idea of being surrounded by people, just even to be able to talk it out. Man, this sucks.
Yes.
To turn to somebody and say that, and like they say, well, here's a different way to look at it. Or I agree with you. Even just being heard and seen, like, fuck, man.
100%.
I mean, friends in New York City, like, you start to get, like, really claustrophobic in the amount that you're closed off.
Yeah.
You know?
His sister goes to Cornell and was in New York for a summer internship and was, like, stuck in her apartment all summer.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then I think early on, especially as so much of the world was looking at what was going on in the medical world and seeing nurses working around the clock and attacking COVID, like we also learned this thing early on where someone would say, you know, Andrew, how you doing? How you know, how's this going? You know, a month into COVID, 2 months into COVID, and it was this really like delicate dance that almost always had to start with like, well, I'm in a pretty good spot because you almost had to like qualify, like I don't have anything to complain about,
But
and then but I am pretty depressed or whatever, you know. And so that's always tough too, because in that qualifier of like I'm not a nurse in New York City, or I'm not on the front lines, or I don't have COVID, or like I'm not missing funerals yet, or whatever. It like took away our ability to like look at how things were good, bad, or otherwise, because we all kind of put that little filter on the front. And then far enough into COVID, people kind of lost that, and they're just like, how's it really going?
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
give me a real answer. You don't have
Got
to
more real with it.
for sure. So, that's cool. But so yeah, and then the running injury, and then we moved, and then during.
Did you move from San Diego to Minneapolis?
So we moved from so we were in San Diego. We fell in love in Boston. So I grew up in Madison. Wisconsin. Went to West High School. I got a rowing scholarship. I was a big, tall kid back then.
Still a big, tall kid now.
Still a big, tall kid.
Haven't shrunk.
I have grandfather's shoes on, but don't let it fool you. I'm not yet a grandfather. Only a dad. Grew up in Madison. Scholarship. Went to Boston. Graduated from Northeastern University. Traveled the world for a couple years. Came back, coached the team for 4 years, which was kind of my first job. Got into marketing. Did a couple marketing jobs.
November project started already.
No, not yet. So
Okay.
I had a marketing job helping launch the bike share company in Boston and in New York City and in DC. It's called Hubway in Boston. Now it used to be City Bike in New York.
You were part of the community bike boom.
For sure.
That's
And I
awesome.
was also one of those bike guys. Like I was kind of like I was always on two wheels anyway, so I knew those folks that were riding bikes. And so, in 2011 we started November Project, and we can just skate through that to get you to Minneapolis. But I started working for New Balance. I had a marketing job at New Balance for 2 years, and then my co-founder and I, for the very first time, we were in 16 cities. November Project was in 16 cities, and we thought, hey man, maybe we should consider taking help, like resources, like sponsorship, that kind of help. We'd never done that. We struck a deal with the North Face, great gear for playing out in the weather. We were with them for 5 years. And during those 5 years, my wife and I were living in San Diego. So we'd gone from a newly married couple in 2014. We moved at the end of 2014. I quit my job at New Balance. And then the job working for November Project became about jumping on airplanes, going to these workouts, meeting with leaders. Sometimes I would say leading leaders, but that's a little bit aggressive because these leaders are just so passionate. Like I'm not dropping into these cities and helping them. I'm mostly taking in the things they're doing right. And so then we had this little boy in 2018 in February, pregnant wife, living in the beach life as renters. It was awesome, right? Surfing. It was awesome. San Diego, if you've never been, go. If you want to live there, you're right. You should go do it. But we were living that renter's life, and we're like, this isn't really adding up, especially if we're like maybe going to have a second kid one day, blah, blah, blah. Starting to make like responsible decisions.
Yeah, start thinking about it a little more.
Well, then it's tough with us because we kind of spoil ourselves. We're living too close to the water. Like San Diego life was good.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't practical, right? All of our neighbors owned their houses and their Teslas, and they, we made okay money, but we were like the poor kids. So we're like, all right, maybe we look an hour to the east or something. And the minute you're not living in San Diego, you should leave California. That's my opinion.
Okay.
All right, so we left California.
When was Lumi born?
Lumi was born in February 2018. We moved to Uptown. Well, first we made a list of all the cities that were like medium size in the United States that you could afford to maybe buy a house, that were also still kind of groovy. Minneapolis happened to be on top of the list, random reasons. We visited here first. We didn't visit any other city. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was the Lindale Street Fair. Minneapolis looked good. You know what I mean?
Great look.
And we saw a very mixed group of human beings as ages and people on bikes and ethnicities and racial makeup as you look at Lindale packed with people walking up and down the streets. So the irony is that like we came here for that diversity.
Sweet.
We wanted our kid to be one of the white kids, but also see other races and be on the basketball court and be in the pool with people from all over the world.
Get a unique perspective.
And so, in ironic foreshadowing, a year later, our neighborhood's burning down with George Floyd and the riots and the things. And like, we hadn't done our homework. Minneapolis does have a pretty rough history with segregation and racial discrimination and police brutality and murder and policing. And so the plan was to be in Uptown to catch a vibe for what Minneapolis really was as we shopped for a home in the burbs. Mm-hmm. So it was all kind of on schedule. But then when our neighborhood was full of rioters and looters and the gas station was on fire on our street, we were also getting ready to also be moving. So it's odd. It's an odd year for a lot of reasons, but then we moved and now we live in these quiet burbs far from any of the revolution and action and conversation. And so for a lot of reasons, it's really important that you guys are here and we're recording this. It's important that we are creating a place to kind of come and be and push yourself. But, even these small workouts, social distancing with masks, like we have a racial, I should say anti-racism, social justice component to these workouts here at Karim Gym North. Like, so I'm still trying. I think until I die, I'm always going to be looking at how to build community wherever I am.
Mm-hmm. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I have a question though. So my dad always told me this, when you have a kid, it changes from it being all about you to being all about your kid. What was it like to have a kid and be a dad for the first time?
It's not like anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, what's it like? And I try and have this conversation with as many men as I can, because I think, unfortunately, you find a lot of this like kind of Homer Simpson vibe of like, fuck, it's the worst. It's the worst. Don't do it. Don't get married. It's the worst. Like, that's too common of a joke. So I would say it is, and this is going to be kind of cheesy, it's the best thing I've ever done. There's no podium. There's no and in second place, like, it's the best thing I've ever done, and that takes my silver medal and bronze. It's like you think some of the things that you've done or built or been a part of are epic. No, you haven't done anything until you have a kid. And I think it's like a really cool badge of honor. It's a mountain that's really hard to climb every single day. But the process of having a pregnant partner, wife in my case, and going through that and the birthing and all of that, it's intense. It's not glamorous. It's really tiring. You lose yourself. This idea that your dad talked about, like, it becomes all about them. Like, oftentimes, especially when you're a dad to a baby. Now he's 2.5. Like, we go do stuff. We throw rocks in the water. He rides a bike, go to the skate park, right? That's awesome. I think that's easy for a lot of guys that I know to be like, fuck yeah, sign me up. Let's go to the skate park. I'm into that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get a new skateboard because my kid's 2.5. Down, right? Being a concierge to a baby and a wife who needs your help that's tough. I don't think you realize how selfish your life is until you put yourself really last on a daily basis. Giving up sleep is tough. And not a lot of people talk about the financial stuff around babies, about having babies, diapers, those things. Like, whether you're scraping to barely put food on the table or you're comfortable, babies are expensive, and it's not a really cool thing to say, but that's like a metric that should be talked more about.
I'm so wide-eyed and terrified right now.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah, right.
And you should
Babies
be.
are expensive.
And you should be. I guess that's the thing, because maybe if you're so freaked out that you run the risk of being prepared, then as a storyteller, I've done my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was freaked out, and I think like I've been pretty dedicated to this little boy and my wife. And so, but then let's talk about some positive things. He's really cute. He looks like me. He's like this gangly, wacky creature. He's like,
perfect.
Yeah, so like that stuff. And like, whether you are a guy in your 20s and you interact with kids a lot, or you don't at all, and you're kind of freaked out by kids, like, it's cool to have your own kid. Like, that's a cool thing.
Oh yeah. So did you know, like, when you wore jorts for 100 days?
Oh yeah.
Like, did you know at that moment, like, okay, I'm ready to be a father?
I'm really glad we're talking about the jorts.
We got to dive in.
You threw them on again today?
They're functional, and they don't look good, but I mean, once you live in the burbs, like just throw your hands up, you're done. It doesn't matter. So you're referencing a 100-day challenge. You're referencing a 100-day challenge that started in the winter, pre-COVID and Black Lives Matter, by the way, didn't start this year as a movement, but the world's attention is finally on it this year. But it feels like it started this year. Okay, in some ways. But I did a 100-day challenge. I wanted to see if I could not drink for 100 days. Being a product of Wisconsin, like a beer drinking kind of guy.
That's a big deal.
That was a challenge.
Yep.
Drinking is not problematic, but it was just kind of like a health goal. Like, what if you got rid of a beer a day and you did nothing? Would you be super boring and maybe fitter or healthier? So that was a 100-day experiment. Jorts for 100 days. I didn't want to just take things out. So I was taking out single-use plastics, and I was taking out alcohol. And I was adding a summer salt every day, meet a new person every day, and jorts every day. In the wintertime, doing my daily run, wearing jorts, totally fine. You put spandex underneath. It's kind of like just like a little bit warmer, kind of like near your grundle.
Right.
But like you could bring your phone in your back pocket. Like it's kind of nice, actually.
Yeah.
As the spring was upon us, the hot diaper of jorts running around out there. There's no chafing issues, in case you were going to ask. But it was very uncomfortable. Special shout out, and especially because I have no relationship to this brand. RevTown, R-E-V, RevTown. They make a functional pair of like slightly stretchy jeans for active people who like wearing jeans. And all three of my jorts that I cut for this 100-day challenge were made by RevTown. They had sent them to me like a slight influencer kind of thing years prior. RevTown. Yes, that's the reason I was able to make it. So I made it. I think the one thing that I thought would be the easiest of those 5 was meet a new person every day. And because of COVID, that was the one thing that I actually gave up on.
Wow.
Which is crazy because I interact with everybody. I always say I meet 5 to 10 new people every day.
Sure.
But with COVID, I tried to keep it going, like social distancing, like across the street. I became a crazy person, yelling to people across the street. Hey, hello, I'm doing hi. So I'm doing 100. Do you have a minute? And people were like, what the fuck is happening? As opposed to waiting in line at a cafe. Do you guys live around here? I see you're wearing a Boston Marathon running jacket. That's cool.
Yeah,
you
strike
running?
up conversation.
Right. Within range, I'm great. Across the street, I'm a little bit scary.
It's like that. Have you seen that video of the dogs on the golf course and they're barking at each other and it's like, hey, what's your name? Terry. Fuck you, Terry. Hey, what's your name? Oh, phenomenal. But yeah, I could see why that'd be a challenge.
So yeah, so that
20-foot range out there.
20-foot range, and I got one on
That's good.
on social. Our mailman Kit, who we became friends with. But yeah, and then someone was like, "Oh, you should do it digitally. Jump on FaceTime my mom."
Oh, yeah,
and I did that for a little bit, but it was like, I don't know.
Became a chore a little bit, you think?
And then totally, and then it's not a little bit like, and then I was kind of like the way you kind of crush your day sometimes. Like I was like, okay, I'll do this 1 minute. What's your name? Cool. Where do you? Oh, because you're in Arkansas. Cool. I'll come and screenshot it. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Bye. I wasn't loving that.
Sure.
Yeah. That's a bit much.
So then towards the end of the 100-day challenge, I thought about putting up a sandwich sign and just standing on the street being like, I'm doing 70. I'm doing 70 today. Busy.
Hammer them out.
Hammer them out. Busy
Yeah.
part of town. I'll get blown off by 70% of the people, but like I'll be here for hours until and that seemed a bit aggressive. So that was the one part I failed on. No alcohol, no single-use plastics.
But the jorts you did.
The jorts I did.
Congrats. That's
And I
huge.
think it's because they've worked their way into my regular wardrobe.
Good. I don't own a pair of jorts, but I want to own a pair. To be
Yeah,
honest.
I think you are trending in this direction.
In this direction. I'm seeing my
100%.
future self almost.
I'm your future.
Yeah.
Just struggling to keep it real out here in the quiet burbs, rocking jorts that none of my neighbors think are ironic.
Do you think like there are certain people in the burbs around here that like take a different road because they're like, Brogan's gonna try and talk to me again today, and I can't have it right
I
now.
haven't thought of that, but yes, absolutely. Well, because we're on this corner of this street that kind of does a U shape and comes back out to
Little
this
horseshoe.
street.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then a little fun fact for those of you in the Excelsior Minnetonka area, our house, and I can't overstress this, I can't overstate, our house was the crazy, for 30 years, was the crazy Halloween house.
The big blow up, like
King size candy bars.
Beyond. Like, brought in extra power generators. Like imagine the craziest Christmas house you've ever seen in mostly orange and black Halloween shit. Like I'm talking 80 mannequins on the lawn. I'm talking you could see it from space.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I meet people in our neighborhood, they're like, "Oh, you're new, cool. Where are you on? Which street?" I just go, "Crazy Halloween House," and they go like they kind of freeze up, like it's like PTSD. They're like, almost like they're waiting for me to like tell them what I think of Halloween. So I like to mess with people and be like, and luckily we're fanatics about the holiday as well. And then there's crickets, and I'm like, "No, I'm just fucking with you." But yeah, so it's funny with this big mural here. We paid a new friend of ours to do the Karim Gym North logo and this mural, and he's done a bunch of really interesting work, especially after George Floyd was killed. He was commissioned to do a couple really important pieces. One on Nicolette. But this is Black Days, at Black Days Art. We definitely plug him because you've seen his work, especially any of you younger folks that are living in and around the Uptown area. He is that iconic cat face. And so I saw his work, and I DM'd him and said, look, I want to buy some T-shirts from you. Sent a couple of my friends in New York City. But I don't want you to pay the shipping, so why don't you just come meet up? Mm-hmm. And then that way, this elusive kind of Banksy type artist has to kind of come to me in human form.
There you go.
Get to meet him.
Fuck a T-shirt. I threw the T-shirts in the trash. I just wanted to meet a human.
There you go.
No, so we became friends, and so he's come out and put up some quotes. And the reason I'm telling you that right now is that when my neighbors walk by, especially in the early morning hours when it's still dark out, this space glows. I mean, these lights are up, and so you'll see neighbors with their dogs, kind of looking in, and they don't.
What's
know,
over here? Yeah.
They don't know what to make of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not giving them much either. Good morning. And they're like, that doesn't help.
It doesn't explain
All
anything behind
six
it.
of you. Good morning.
Hey, like obviously this bunch of ninjas in your neighborhood. Hi, is that a labradoodle? What is that? Oh, that's so, like moving on. So slightly freaking people out. I am always looking for dad friends. I want to start a group called the Dusty Dads here, and we were going to do it last week actually, but it was a couple of the dads called out for different various dad reasons, so we're kind of putting it off. But you met my neighbor Brent. I want to get him and a bunch of other Dusty dads in here to work some probably movements with no weight. Mm-hmm. Just like squat to a box, maybe some of the ring pulls, just some basic planking, push-ups from the knees, like basic stuff to get these guys up and running, and then release them to the wild like a month later to join the group here.
Sure.
Because they come by and they see this ninja stuff going on. They're like, fuck that. I'm not up to that speed.
That's a bit much.
Right? And so these dudes aren't like athletes that are out of their prime a few years. Like they maybe were never into it. So anyway, I'm always inspired by like trying to help somebody kick off the dust a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or create some confidence. Like new experience. Like I believe in you as long as you can get here. You know what I mean? If you sleep in, then I'm going to stop believing.
Just show up.
There you go.
Because you were mentioning with November Project how you felt like it was veering towards this the path of people look at it and they feel like they need to be a little bit athletic already. They should join and be a part of this community. There needs to be an internal flame athletically already. Mm-hmm. And that's not what you want. You want it to be the everyday person being like, oh, these people are doing it. I feel I should be welcome. I can be welcomed into this community.
Yeah.
So you're kind of getting to the perspective of what it would like.
Yep.
The dads and seeing how to bring them in, and that kind of just ultimately brings everything together.
Well, and to have a conversation with a neighbor who's like, man, I'm intimidated by whatever the heck you guys are doing here. I think that dude represents 6 other dudes who I haven't yet even met that have seen this nonsense going off.
100%.
That would probably crush when they got in here.
Maybe the Dusty Dads at least. The training group just to build confidence, I think is interesting because, like you said, a lot of folks look at November Project at first glance. They go, "Well, I got to get fit before I can join that group," and it's like, no. The process is, the experience is. Man, on day one, I couldn't really run all the way up that hill, but the third month, I was able to run up half the hill, and by the end of my first year, I did my first half marathon. Like that, to me, I love that story as opposed to like, I saw you guys, then I went and joined Crunch Fitness, got on a treadmill. A month later, I came if you got to do that, cool. But I like the idea of like, no, we're going to do this together.
Head first.
We're going to do this together. And part of the experience is like and maybe we've never actually talked so directly about this, but like it's a beautiful exposing thing to see people trying and struggling. Like as much as I joke about the hearsay, and we'll talk about what I heard a couple strangers say about the two of you one day randomly. But you get to know someone at like a core level by seeing someone, and you guys are both really fit, like struggle through something, hanging off a bar, trying to figure out how to get that 5th rep. And I know it's broski and I know it's jock life and call it what you want. But like, I don't really need to know a lot more of those boring metrics. Where are you from? What do you do? What do you drive? Like those boring things we have to have on our business cards of life. But if I know what it looks like when you're really going for something, or you can turn to someone who you just met and say like, you got this, Shira. I believe in you. Like to see you be that character teaches me about your character more than how you get your paycheck to buy your groceries. And so one of the things I'm really proud about November Project, one of our kind of our customs, one of our things that we're proud of is that like you could go to November Project and get to know someone really, 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 really well through some really vivid experiences with weather and this idea of pushing through and connectivity and human contact, and then find out what they do for a living. Right? Mm-hmm. Whereas most of the normal world, it's like that's the first thing you ask, or in the first 5. Right. It just doesn't matter when you're all in shorts trying to get up the hill. Right. And so there's something really interesting about that where it's like, it's too early in the morning to care about your Tesla. It's too early in the morning to care where you transferred bus stations to get here. It doesn't fucking matter. And if you slept in, it doesn't matter how fit you are. We love to say that there's a bunch of really great badass Olympians that are sleeping. And so right now, this Joe right off the couch, this couch potato who's trying is beating that Olympian who's sleeping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to me, that's big stuff. So Dusty Dads, like as much as it's like a slight joke, it's like, no, those bros at 5:45, their half pull-up is better than most everything that's going on in town because they haven't started their engines yet. Like that to me is the stuff that keeps me coming back. Because being a Division I athlete, being a Division I coach, being a marathoner, being a Boston qualifier, like doing all these different things is like, it's become second to what does it look like when, hey Bubba, come here.
Hey.
Come here, Taco.
Hey, Lumi.
Bubba, who are these guys? Who are these guys?
Hey, Lumi.
He is Elmo'd out. Look at him.
Oh.
Could you imagine sleeping until 8:30?
That's amazing.
Hey,
Good
Bubba,
for you,
Bubba,
brother.
Can you come give Daddy a kiss? Come give Daddy a kiss.
There he goes.
Here, talk to Daddy.
I love his rec specs.
Hey, what is this?
Microphone.
Yes.
Bubba, what's your name?
Good work.
What is it? Okay, so let's do this. What's the number of the day?
10.
10? And who's your favorite train?
I know Nia.
He goes, I know Nia.
Yeah.
What's another train? Do you like Thomas? So doing the cute dad.
He's got speed holes.
We also got
He does.
So we got these my wife got these slippers yesterday.
Elmo.
Those are sweet.
And we're in an Elmo phase. The other things we really like are, what do you like? Do you like Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Who do you like on Sesame Street?
I like Elmo.
Elmo, and who else?
I like Big Bird.
Big Bird. Yeah.
Bird. There we go.
You gotta have a kid. Have a kid. Look at this. Have a kid.
Have a kid. Have a kid.
Have a kid. What else can I tell you about Lumi? Lumi sucks his thumb. Lumi wears diapers.
He's like, yep.
Pull-ups. He's an open book. He's had 3 haircuts.
Nice.
This is kind of a dad-created, customer-requested mohawk, faux hawk, grown hawk.
Customer requested.
Which, Bubba, look at this. Can you show him the back of your hair? Look at how long his hair is. That's called a mullet. Can you say mullet?
Mullet.
Yeah. Bubba, can you say mullet?
Mullet.
Mowit.
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 I have a mowit.
And what else? Oh, the other thing that's important for listeners to know, Lumi, his middle name, so Lumi is his first name. Middle name is Cobra, which Andrew, you and I spoke about Cobra, which we can talk about. And how old are you?
2.
Okay, I'll stop doing the microphone. Here, let's see if he can go to the mommy.
Lumi Cobra.
Lumi Cobra.
Hey, Bubba, give these guys
man.
a high five. Give them a high five.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Lumi.
You're the man.
Yeah.
What a start to your day, Lumi.
That is awesome.
I love you.
On his first ever podcast.
I love you too.
Oh,
come on. Have a kid.
Have a kid.
Have a kid. I'm not crying. I'm itching my eye, but if I wanted to start, no. Have a kid.
Lumi
Cobra Graham. So my name is Brogan Christopher Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Goldie is her real name, middle name Sophia. Goldie Sophia Graham. Goldie Graham sounds a lot like Golden Grams, which is a cereal,
Right.
which I think is a General Mills product. Is it General Mills here?
Yes.
Yeah, here, Wisconsin. I thought they
No,
were.
General Mills is here.
They're here, currently here.
So Goldie Graham,
Goldie
Brogan
Graham,
Graham.
GGs.
I thought it would have been outrageous when we were naming our kid to name our kid like David.
Yeah, what was like the
John.
naming
I thought
process?
John would have been outrageous.
Trevor.
This is our son, John. He'd get older and be like, "What a ripoff!
What a joke.
Way to play it safe, Dad."
Yeah, what a sick joke.
So, but
7 other Johns in my class.
right, totally. John G. So, Goldie and I had this like ongoing process for finding names. That was a little bit. I don't know if you have friends that have had kids. The process looked like this. I would say to Goldie, "Hey, next time we have dinner, like fucking every day or every other day together, like in a sit down environment.
Yep.
I want you to come to the table with 3 to 5 names that you believe in a little or love. And I'll come with 3 to 5, and then we kind of just say them, and that's a really good way. And then over a week or a month, that's a good amount of names. She would come with 0 or none, or 0 or 1, that she was like really believed in. Meaning like she'd come with one that she would die over. And then I would come with 100
Right.
that like I didn't.
Rattling them off.
And hers were what I called Kanye names.
I want to hear these.
Well, like, Kanye, or,
North.
Jay-Z, yeah, they've got these, his kid, Jay-Z's got a kid named Blue, Blue, and
Blue Ivy, right?
What?
Or
Blue Ivy?
Is Ivy another one?
I don't know.
Maybe it's just.
But the idea is like these outrageous characters in life, they're Martians. Jay-Z and Kanye are not living normal lives, so their kids should be named,
As such.
Philanthropy West or whatever, This is my daughter, Philanthropy. So some of the Kanye names, my wife would turn to me and be like, "What do you think about Ocean?" And I'd be like, "Oh." And it's funny. The process is funny too, because when someone brings up a name, it's proof that they already believe in it at some level. And with Goldie, she's a passionate character, so she's like, "I really think that's the one." And I'm like, "Look, I like creativity, unique shit."
I get we're in San Diego and
Totally.
we live on the ocean.
Well, and like our nephew's name is Arrow, and my name's Brogan. So like we're starting from a weird place.
And her name's Goldie.
Her name's Goldie, so we're kind of okay. And then you have to find a polite way of being like, Ocean. Okay. Well. Huh. But you also don't want to say you like it, because then you could start the wheels in motion. It's hard to reverse. So you're like,
it's a lot of wasted time.
so then you say stuff like this is really fucked up, like side talk, like, how'd you come up with that? It's really I'd love
Origin
to
story.
Totally.
Yeah.
I
Use it in
like-
a sentence.
Hey, Ocean, take out the recycling. What is it? What is this voice? Who is this character? Hey, Ocean. Anyway, so
Ocean, put your pants back on.
So Legend was one. Legend Graham. Now, if your name is Legend and boy, girl, whatever, however you identify your pronouns, doesn't matter. Like, your name Legend is pressure that is not fair. Unique, Brogan, Goldie, uplifting, kind of a fun name to say. Legend, you're
asking for it,
Well,
pal.
it's just your life's gonna be it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad.
Right.
You just gotta be able to take the shit on the basketball court when you miss like a 3-pointer and you're out there and they're like, "Oh, so much for being a legend," blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah.
you'll get that your whole life if your
Totally.
name's Legend.
I think it's too much pressure. You just can't play sports if your name's Legend. Although LeBron did it. He was the king in high school and he became the king. By the way, do you guys care about NBA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game 5 is tonight.
Right. And I think
It's over, right?
no, it's game 5. No, it's game.
No, I'm saying it's going to be over after game 5.
Well, it's 3-1, right?
Yep.
So LA is up 3-1. They're in the bubble still. So when you're listening to this in years from now, the NBA is in a bubble in Orlando. So Los Angeles Lakers, which are living in a dorm on the Disney campus,
Correct.
as multimillionaire professional basketball, the best basketball players in the world are living in dorms in Orlando on a Walt Disney Mickey Mouse campus, and they're playing against
The Miami Heat.
the Miami Heat with the Jimmy Butler team, which I'm actually really fascinated by that team.
Me too.
Where do you guys stand on LeBron? You guys anti-pro? You don't care?
So I grew up in Chicago.
Okay.
So I'm like Michael Jordan, cream of the crop.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, LeBron is just he puts me in awe time and time again on the court.
Yeah.
I hate how he whines, but he's also just like the best leader ever. He creates a new team every year,
Isn't that wild?
he just makes it happen, and he always makes it to the finals. It's
Living legend is an important piece.
Yeah.
Like seeing something like that. It's like watching Kobe. It's like watching Jordan. I mean, I was young, but watching Jordan games, you're like, wow. I mean, it's hard to tell that we're watching something special, but
Yeah, they're in a bubble right now.
they're in a bubble. Anyway, so I think it's cool. I think it takes this really like fancified sport, the fancified league of money and influence and sponsorships and visibility and privilege, and it boils it back down to where it all started.
To the YMCA.
Summer league,
Yes.
like camp.
AAU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've told myself this story, and I don't know how true this is, but like a really good leader in a bubble situation, unlike anything they've dealt with in their pro career, a really good leader would be like, all right, let's lock in. Let's lock into this.
Mm-hmm.
These are the parameters. Let's effing go.
And that was LeBron
And
to a
that's-
T.
Yeah. So anyway, I almost wore it for this interview, but I have a Kurt Rambis jersey. You know who Kurt Rambis?
Oh,
is?
Yeah.
I have a Kurt Rambis jersey, so I've been wearing that. And I actually, to be honest with y'all, as much as I love the Jimmy Butler thing, I hope LeBron wins tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm a big Nuggets fan. I loved how the Nuggets played throughout the entire playoffs. I think that was true. That was the peak playoff NBA basketball, was when the Nuggets were on.
I agree.
So much fun to watch that team compete. It was unbelievable.
My buddy in DC during that series, he went out and bought a
Jokic or Jamal Murray?
Jokic jersey.
Jokic?
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy a Jokic jersey here.
Yeah.
Have to.
But I will say though, if you have too many and not that a Jokic jersey is a jokey jersey, but it's kind of a little bit. It's an interesting choice.
It's a hack. It's a hack one
it's
in
a
the
statement.
NBA culture. It's a statement for sure.
Yeah.
It's a hack thing outside of the hardcore NBA culture.
Right.
And then no one will recognize it outside of that realm, which is just like average person walking in the street.
Right.
But you wear the jersey for the dedicated NBA fan, because if I see someone else with a Jokic jersey, I'm going out of my way to tell them nice Jokic jersey,
100%.
because that automatically makes the connection. That's the only kind of connections I'm trying to make.
Me too.
Right?
Me too. The niche.
Speaking of the mic, by the way.
The niche,
you, sir.
the niche. Damn.
Yes.
And that's the way the Kurt Rambis is. A lot of people look at the Kurt Rambis and they see Lakers, iconic, yellow, iconic, and they see the number 31, and they're like, is that Odom?
Odom. What the hell?
Was that Nick Van Exel? Who are we? And then they kind of and Lakers jersey in itself, especially in the Midwest, that's a bold statement. Just wearing a Lakers jersey is a bold statement anywhere in the world.
Yep.
So to kind of peep the back, or a really rare occasion, I used to train at Kingfield, which is a former CrossFit space in Uptown, and I wore it to a workout just to kind of test the water. And this coach Carl, really cool guy, he's a great runner. He spotted it from the door. He goes, "Nice Rambis jersey." And I liked Carl. Like, I liked him a little. I didn't have many interactions. But I was like, well, we're fucking friends then. That's it. Do you own jerseys? I feel like guys that are 24
I got
own.
my most niche jersey is a Doug McDermott Creighton jersey.
Whoa.
It's the first jersey I actually ever purchased. Like, do you ever buy the Chinese jerseys? Did you ever do that a couple years ago?
My brother just got into that, but they never show up.
Oh, really?
He's dropped a couple $100 and, like, still no jerseys.
Yeah, I got a Michael Jordan Washington Bullets. I got and then this Doug McDermott Creighton jersey. Those are my two favorite.
Ooh. Washington. I think it's a Washington one. One of the jerseys my brother is waiting on, which is a gift to me, I think it's a Bullets number 3 Minute Bowl. So if that comes through,
That's some serious
That's
length.
fun.
bootleg or not, like
Yeah.
when that comes through, that's like you got to take
a big deal.
That's a big weekend.
Very big.
That's like
put a whole weekend
Well,
around
yeah,
that.
you call the dry cleaner and let them know that you're going to be coming each day for 3 days. And it's going to be an important weekend. Let's see what else.
Have you always had like this vibe to you with like your style, your outfit?
Steez?
Yeah. Because the first time we met you was at Embrace North. I don't know if we've mentioned that on this podcast yet, but when you showed up, you were a
Funkified.
walking highlighter.
Yeah. Okay.
And you
follow
got out
that-
of the ice bath early. I remember it. You said, "Nope, can't do it. It's on camera. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna send it to you."
Well, we also mentioned
It was so bad.
It was bad.
I poorly represented. What were you going to say?
you dress in costumes.
Yeah, you
to an extent.
Halloween's every day
Not
for you.
in the best of way.
Yeah.
Right? You're dressing up and it's got a full fit.
It's calculated,
It's
head to
calculated.
toe.
Yes.
I think it's I think it comes from a place of like, and I was talking to my brother. I only have one sibling. He's 2 years older, Dan Graham, and he does the same thing, which is like,
What, Dan? And then they went with Brogan?
I know.
Wow.
They were like,
is he pissed about that, or?
I think he feels fine with it. He's the eldest, so he's kind of like trying to pave his way through life.
Okay.
Dan's a good piece of armor for like normal.
It's a good rock.
Sure.
Okay.
Whereas with me, I got a bunch of confidence just by having a bodyguard my whole life. So you might as well name me whatever.
Back into the mic.
Philanthropy.
Yeah, speaking of the mic.
So, let's see. So anyway, we both dress that way. I think it comes from, and like I don't identify with any specific religion, but our parents did take us to church a lot when we were younger, and so this idea of like having to put on nice outfits for church or Sunday school or something, or like having to wear your scout shirt tucked in, like anytime there was a having to wear, I felt like they needed to be balanced out. So like in my life professionally, there isn't really a reason to like put on the polo. Do you know what I mean? So like I and my brother's a teacher, he doesn't get to do this as much. Like go weird with it, especially when it comes to bold colors, you know? And then in San Diego, everyone kind of just whatever anyway. No one's really wearing shoes there, you know? Like, so the question was, have I always dressed? I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Between my co-founder, Boyan, his name's Boyan, he's a little bit more sport. Like he looks good, cool. Like he's a fitness guy. And then I look kind of like a maniac. It's a little bit of that like Big Boy and Andre 3000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, by the way, podcast rec, Broken Record interview. Rick Rubin interviews Andre 3000.
It's phenomenal.
I'm really into it. One of the most confident seeming characters, Andre 3000, just talks a lot about self-doubt and creativity. I think it's really a good one.
You know, you brought up, it's good they bring creativity back up, because when you mentioned earlier about how the COVID times made everybody kind of wipe their clean slate, just go start with a clean slate again. I think that is the best thing to do with the creative process. Like, if you're constantly creating stuff, you're always starting with the clean slate no matter what, and it's your accountability to yourself to start with that clean slate. Like, if you have something you want to design, you want to clear slate at least 6 times to get 6 different angles at what you're trying to create, or with your marketing or with your next event or whatever. Like, you should always, the best creation, in my opinion, comes from the clean slate. Oh. And so that reiterative process that we always do, it felt no different just doing it in a different medium. And that's why I think you've had so much success with November Project just in its own physical form, but then you just took that same creative process and put it in a different medium, and it surprised you still, which was awesome.
I appreciate you saying that. It's really nice. I think the idea of clean slate can be pressure to some, and it can be very like fucking lick your chops exciting to others, you know? And I think it says a lot about a person when you say, oh yeah, you got to do this now with masks, or you can't host a workout unless it's digital, or 6 feet of distance, or do it with the lights out. You know what I mean? Like to throw parameters, some people see those as barriers, let's give up, and some people see those as hurdles, like let's see if we can do it just as fast.
Let's make it work. Exactly.
That's the babysitter. The close thing, the North, clean slate, creativity. I want to mention one thing on the creativity piece. I was talking to one of the leaders of the Boston group, and Boston's one of the biggest cities. Some of their Wednesdays, they'll get 500, 600, 700 people at a workout, and at the Harvard Stadium on Wednesdays. This is pre-COVID, and I was having a conversation with Emily yesterday about this idea of the clean slate and trying things, and this is an important one. People talk about creativity, and then they don't talk enough about execution. Execution is not as sexy. Let's just make up some fucking ideas. I'm creative. Let's create. And then, like, I don't know, someone else will do them. Sexy needs to be the execution, right? And then there's one, and it never will be, right? Mm-hmm. Casey Neistat, a filmmaker that I absolutely admire, talks a lot about, like, I don't care how many ideas you have. What did you execute? Creative people that bring something across the line, it doesn't even have to be as good as your wildest ideas. Just make some of them come to life. And then, to me, there's one step further into less sexy, less credit. But I think people that are listening to this that are creators, or that want to try stuff, or want to keep what a lot of people would call banging their head against the wall on the same thing, I think there's an interesting way to twist things, especially these days, which is this idea of failure in a space where the human condition, the human experience often creates a dark space where a failure attempt existed, right? So if you set out to set a podcast and the first 10 episodes are terrible and it was way more work than you thought and you quit, you're probably not a year or maybe in the rest of your life going to start a podcast again, right? Because you've created this like, now I know what it is. No, right? And Emily and I spoke a lot about that, where it takes guts. And she spoke about one of her favorite teachers said she'd try anything 3 times. That was her line. I'll try anything 3 times. This idea of like, oh, that sucked the first time. Let's just make sure we got it. Oh, it was really bad. You know, on the 3rd time of trying something. And I think that takes guts to go back to something that didn't work out and say, let's change it 1%. Let's keep working on this because I believe in the future of what could be here. My co-founder and I were invited to this thing. This is a subtle brag, but it fits in to this rapid prototyping fitness thing that was happening in San Francisco, where we were creating the future of a fitness festival. And we were working with these really intense, smart people about like, how would you churn through 40,000 runners at a finish line to make it interesting and different? And we had this idea of like a walk-through shower where privacy but you kind of were on a conveyor belt and all this shit, like if money were no object. So rapid prototyping is this process of like just making stuff up and everything is yes. And how do you build it just like out of tinfoil so you can present it? And one of the dudes in the room was the guy who created Google Glass. Remember Google Glass?
Yep.
And Google Glass, for people that are a little bit in the tech world, was a failure. Because it didn't sell, right? You don't have one. It didn't become the thing. It didn't become as popular as the iPhone, so we're still using these handheld phones that are not connected to our faces yet, right? And this guy stands up. I wish I knew his name. Very cool dude, very soft-spoken, and makes you really lean in when he speaks. And he spoke about these dark spots. So it's really sexy to talk about creative people. We create creative ideas. Let's get brainstorm, right? Okay, less sexy as execution. Very, very much less sexy. And what takes courage is going back to something that didn't necessarily work and trying it again.
Mm-hmm. So you bring up a great point, and this is an awesome transition.
Segue?
To what the average quality is. It takes guts to go back to something that you're not great at and try it again, only for the idea that you can get 1% better. But you do it because you care about it.
Right.
Right. And that is ultimately why I love being in a creative space. And I believe that is like, correct me if I'm using this word wrong, but the penultimate. Like being in creative spaces is my life end goal. Like just continuously pushing myself to be creative.
It's your home.
It's my home. Elon Musk was talking about this on Joe Rogan, how people are going, like the people that go into become lawyers or go into Wall Street are moving the needle in a direction that we don't need to move the needle in. Those brilliant minds, they shouldn't be there. They should be in creative spaces because that is what ultimately is going to help the whole culture strive to be better or give an opportunity to create a product that's going to make culture better.
Yep.
And to have the ability to sit around and talk creatively and then have someone like Declan who wants to execute on these creative ideas it's incredible.
Yep.
And that's why I continue to vibe and continue to push the needle with Backpocket. But we're not great at it. We fail many times.
Totally.
You're lucky you didn't show up to the first time we tried to record outside.
Right.
We're like so thankful you never showed up. Not only because it was a crazy time in our world, but also like we sucked at trying to record live in a spot that wasn't in our studio.
And now look where you are. Now this is like, it's something that's in your toolkit. It's not perfect. It's different every time.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many adjustments.
We were like slightly buzzed at 10:30 p.m. last night, knowing that we had to wake up early to come here, but we needed all the equipment and stuff. Like Andrew and I are like with our eyes closed, packed everything, put it in 2 bags, brought it here. We didn't miss it. We didn't miss a beat.
I love that.
But it doesn't come without failure and learning and growing a little bit. And that's ultimately why Declan and I are 2 wildly average guys who have an extraordinary passion to hear the stories across from us.
Yeah.
And we tag ourselves as average guys because trial and error, ebbs and flows, strikes and gutters. We're always going to learn. We're always going to grow. We're average, but we're going to look at that as an ability to be like, okay, I'm humble enough to look at I have a lot of flaws, but I'm going to get a little bit better, and I'm going to care about it. So, Brogan, I'd like to ask you, what is your average quality? What is something you care about that you're trying to get a little bit better at every day?
What do you have the guts to keep going back to?
I think this idea of bringing people together on a half idea, bringing people together on a rough draft, rallying around something that you're willing to show isn't finished. Karim Gym North is a great example for anyone that ever gets invited to this thing. We stand in a circle. I talk about the workout. It's too fucking early. It mostly makes sense, and then it's more of the experience. But I keep going back to the vehicle is the thing that's on the invite. The vehicle, in my case, so often is fitness. I've hosted dumb events in poetry, in show and tell, in picking up trash, in touring graffiti throughout the city on foot or by bicycle. But the commonality of everything that I do is an attempt to bring people together. Now, being a being a dad, you just have less times like the times you have, sitting around, shooting the shit, chopping it up with some of your friends. You just don't have that. So if you become more efficient, you can see people that you like and that you are friends with or new friends with, check off the workout, bring people together and have that vibe. It gives me my COVID fix that I'm missing from people. It gives me a physical outlet, and it keeps me connected socially. Like those are the things that I'm going to keep trying. Wearing a mask at 5 a.m. in the burbs in a garage with like music that's not even really on that loud because my wife is just 10 feet above us sleeping. Like it doesn't really make sense. And November Project doesn't make sense. And the average quality of November Project is like the workouts aren't that special. We early on in Boston, we said we called the workouts the shit your grandfather would respect because it's 60 minutes, sometimes 45. Early days, it was more than 60 minutes. Just run up the hill. And at the top of the hill, you're going to turn around and go back down to the bottom of the hill. And when the time is up, we'll be done. You know what I mean? Like in a world of fitness where it's like people are talking so much about like, no, I do spin. No,
it's
I
like
do.
evolution. There's always something new. Always something
I like the
different to
bare
try.
bones. I like the simple stuff. So for a personal level, I'm going to stay committed to whatever place I live in. Southern California, back to the Midwest. I used to be an East Coast guy. One commonality of my life is just like, I'm going to rally people. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a CrossFit coach, but we're doing stuff in here with kettlebells in the crack of dawn. With November Project, we're going to keep pushing forward. People used to say that we were crazy. We used to talk about world takeover and how we were going to be in cities all over the world. People used to laugh at us. And 52 cities later, I think there's something to this magic of bringing people together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I think I need to mention that it's not because we had a master plan. It was luck with timing. I'm blessed with all these insanely passionate leaders that do this thing. They build it every next Wednesday. So my average quality is I'm just a guy that got lucky to keep going to this thing that people thought had value early days. And then so many really great people took it and ran with it around the world.
How rewarding is it to have something that people find like a ton of value in? We were talking about this last night with Bio and how when someone tells you like he's a rapper, when he talks about the first times when he started putting out his mixtapes and his projects, that when that one person would come up to him, like they didn't even know, hey dude, just listen to your new song, that was dope. And he was just like, wow, that is a fuel source that I've never even experienced before. You, in your case, you have people in the masses showing up to the Harvard Stadium because they want to and because there's value there. What is that feeling like to be able to start something like that and grow so big? I mean, it's
hard to explain. One of the things that we do for it's like a backwards branding play is that we spray paint shirts that say November Project on them, and you can only get one if you are a part of the group. And
it's like a lot tee.
Totally. And the idea of, hey, can you paint one for my brother-in-law who lives in no. Why isn't your brother-in-law here? So it's like an earned thing. And I used to patrol the streets of Boston on foot or on a bike or whatever, and I would know every single person, whether they were running, walking, whatever. And if they had a spray painted shirt, good chances I knew them and their name. And now I can be in a lot of different cities in the United States and see someone running in that spray painted shirt, and they don't know who I am. I don't know who they are. Wow. And it is wild. To answer your question, it's wild. That's wild. A stencil that I made out of those little sticky numbers on this back to school aisle in the CVS, those little sticky poster things. You kind of put them all together, so it's one connected November Project. Okay, and we didn't have the kit was old, so we didn't have any E's left. So if you look at November Project's logo, we used the 3s, right? So those are 3s that are backwards, right? November Project.
Wow. No, I do see that.
Like-
No way.
You know, and like, and so little things like that, like, I've gotten to travel the world from this thing. And this might be the most proud thing about it, is that we're to a point now where the chest beating and the intensity and the fuck yeah and the just show up and kind of like the rude way in which we shook people into falling in love with November Project, that wouldn't work now. The world has changed now. It's a different place now. Inclusivity, language, holding a safe space, understanding the privileges of the people that are leading, the diversity or lack of diversity in leadership. Like, those things all matter now. And we were just saying world takeover. We were just saying, like, we're doing this right in Boston. Like, show up or don't show up. Like, you're missing out. Like, it's really like one-way street. I'm really privileged to be learning from young leaders now about what this thing can be and should be. You know? And so, like, I don't know. I think a lot of people move off to the burbs and they slow their growth as a global citizen. And I'm really lucky to be still, like, really in the mix.
You're very outward looking.
Outward facing. And I think,
outward facing.
And that's actually an important point. Like, November Project as a community in each city, as well as globally, they point outward. They come in, have this 60-minute experience, and then they go out into the world and they freaking talk about it. It's like your loyal listeners. It's like they're out there doing the posting for you.
Doing the good work.
Doing the good work.
As an outward-facing person, you're taking a lot in. Pressure becomes stress probably relatively quickly, and anxiety can rise because you're seeing the whole picture.
Sure.
What do you keep in your back pocket to help you overcome these situations, whether it's with November Project, whether it's with being a dad, raising a family, now you're in the burbs. What do you hold in your back pocket as Brogan?
To follow my gut and to keep those who have always been kind of on speed dial, metaphorically on speed dial. Did I just answer your question with, like, you know, stay connected to people who can help you answer stuff? Maybe. I mean, what do I keep in my back pocket?
Well, I think what you said there to start, trusting your gut. We hear all these different variations of that.
Sure.
But ultimately, it's being you is what you hold in your back pocket most.
Sure.
Is kind of the theme we keep touching on with each guest. And I think it's the coolest thing is, like, when pressure's really stress and when you're, like, so uncomfortable that it's painful, the best way to overcome these situations is being yourself.
Sure.
Because at that point, that's all you have. And the best part is everyone is their own self, right? Everyone has all these different experiences that make up who they are. So that's why it makes every answer unique. And there's usually stories tied to it, and there's reasons why they found what's in their back pocket or found themselves. But at the end of the day, like, you're 287,
Right?
And we know that what we found is there's just commonalities every single time.
Oh yeah,
no matter what.
I gotta imagine a lot of your guests are, like, saying different versions of the same thing. I mean, if they're people that you pick to put on, I mean, the only other thing I would add to that is don't fear change. You know, and I know that's a little bit cliche, but when something's really working, we create this narrative of let's keep it going and not take wrong turns or F it up, right? So that's a created pressure. In that podcast that I sent to you that I spoke of earlier, the host talks about this excitement that we have when we watch a movie and there's some turmoil or a negative or a wrong turn in the story for the main character. As a fan of this story that you're watching, you lean in and say, I can't wait to see what happens next, right? And so if you can live your life, and this is something I tell myself often, especially when you're unsure of the next thing or the next opportunity or, like, where things are going, to say, yeah, it's going to be part of this great story.
I can't
wait to see what happens next.
Dude.
As opposed to, like, fearing the future or fearing the uncertainty or fearing change. It's like, I can't wait to see what happens next. And not every part of that movie is great. And not every part of that character's experience is good. But throughout these stories, it all adds up to the experience. I know that's a little bit cheesy.
No, but I subscribe to that 100% because, like, that's literally the life I'm living right now.
Yeah.
And the cool part about, like, I can't wait for what happens next is, like, you're in control to some degree of the things that are around what happens next. Like,
right.
For me personally, having to be relocated out of nowhere to now Tempe, Arizona.
Yep.
And now I'm getting the vibes of like I'm just getting like super antsy. That was one of my questions earlier. You know, 3 years at New Balance, then you quit and just went November Project full time. Like, I'm trying to figure out when that's going to make sense for me. It'll probably be the door will open and I'll be able to walk through it. But that's my anxiety is always like, how can I escape? How can I go? So my next step, when I figured this out for the first time, it was like, I can't wait for the movie to release. I'm so here for it.
Right.
And what it's going to be is when I move all my stuff out of Minnesota, I'm buying a like 20-foot long camper van pseudo truck camper van deal. If you look up like a Toyota Dolphin, that's kind of what I'm going for.
I know the vehicle.
And I'm going to live out of that. And I'm going to just be on the road for however long I need to be until I can save up enough money to then just drop ship and go.
Ugh. To be 20.
I can't wait what happens next, dude. It's gonna be sick.
So like I said earlier, don't have a kid. No, that's so cool. I can't wait to see what happens next. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that. Like, when do I take the leap? It's not everything's lining up. How do I know when to go all in on the podcast? How do I know when to quit my job? How do I know and I think if you can, even if it's just tricking yourself into thinking positively or to think of this narrative of I can't wait to see what happens next, I think it gets some of those stresses and pressures and like worries to disappear actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of just makes you accept and be.
Yeah. Because you're going to run out of gas. And the Dolphin vehicle that's like such this dream, it's going to break down at least a couple times.
Yeah.
And you'll be in tough spots. And those will be your best stories. Like, let's remind ourselves, like, the most, like, intense, out there, like, on paper kind of shitty moments are our best stories.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, leads me to another good story I need to tell. Because I feel like they might be listening. And this doesn't fit into the back pocket. I don't know if we're trying to land the plane, but I got to tell this before the end of the thing.
Go ahead.
I got to know Declan a little bit better than Andrew, kind of early days. So, like you said earlier, and we didn't get too far into the story, we met at Embrace North. Embrace North, all these dudes are kind of yelling and screaming. They're doing a workout, then a breathing exercise on the ice on Cedar Lake, and then they're getting in the water. And they do this every week, up to their necks in the cold water. My wife and I were pretty fresh from San Diego. It was definitely our first winter in the last 5 or 6 years. And we got in for like 5 seconds and jumped out. And it was not cool. We looked real bad. We showed up pretty poorly. Y'all were in there for 10 minutes. I did regain it. I got back. I came back for the weeks, whatever.
Yes.
But I connected with Declan because he's kind of like a little bit more of a like immediate character as opposed to Andrew, who's a little bit more of like an immediate gentleman. You're both good guys, but like there's a show here, and this is like you take this one home to meet your dad.
There
right?
you go.
And like maybe over time you would win that, and then you're also probably wacky, but like that's first impression. So we connected right away. And we were exchanging videos and trying to figure out how we could do this. And so it's really cool that it's happening. And then what's cool about this, Karim Gym North, is that you and I have become friends through your participation here over the last month. So cool. But my story is about how you and I were exchanging videos, trying to figure it out. My wife and I are living in Uptown. We used to walk around the Lake of the Isles all the time. And if you're listening to this, there's these two, let's say, 25-year-old blonde women. And I heard you say, this is a direct quote. I'm walking on the Lake of the Isles with my wife and my kid. And I pass this couple going the other way, these two women, and I hear them say, yeah, Declan and Andrew are so fit. This is a true story, and that's the end of the story. But I turned to my wife, and I was like, did you hear that? Declan and Andrew are so fit. She really leaned into the she spent some time there. So fit. And then the other girl's like, yeah, I know. And like that, but then they kind of like they were out of earshot. Declan and Andrew are so fit. It was like, so then the joke became with you guys that you are paying actresses just to walk around town saying nice stuff about you.
Drive the van around. Get out, go.
Now go. Now this week we're saying, wow, isn't the Back Pocket a great educational podcast to listen to once a week? Right?
Every Tuesday.
And it happens to be like these beautiful characters. Really good casting, by the way.
Twilight Zone.
Declan and Andrew are so fit. And it's not Brian and Tim. It's not Kevin and Andrew. It's not Andrew and Steve. Declan and Andrew. So anyway, I had to tell that story because I was blown away, and it was like small world type shit. And congrats, because I guess you're so fit.
Right.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
supposedly.
That video was priceless.
So yeah, then I sent Declan a video that was like, "You will not believe this. I ran into your marketing team, your guerrilla marketing, your street team."
My street team,
Well,
exactly.
We had the same type. The video ended, and we had the same type of thing. That's it. That's the story. When we looked at each other, that's it.
That's it.
It was Declan and Andrew are so fit, and then you hit end on the video, and we just.
Well, because that's how we were communicating for the longest time was
Short films.
You were sending me 1 minute long Instagram DMs, and I'm like, no one ever really sends me just like a 1 minute long video. So I just responded back the same way. I loved the vibe.
I think for me, it's the best way to communicate personality, vibes, character, jokes, whatever. But because everyone's busy, it's like a consume when ready type thing.
Yes.
I call them short films as opposed to like text videos. Short films because it implies that there's some thoughtfulness going on. So if you're listening to this and there's someone in your life that like you're like, I haven't talked to him for a while during COVID, it feels like a lot to just reach out and catch up. It's like an hour-long conversation. I keep avoiding calling. I owe them a call. Send them a short film. Just do it today. Hey, thinking of you. Look right in the camera. Don't look at yourself. Everyone knows you're looking at yourself. Look into the eye of the camera and send them a short film today and thank me later.
Andrew's dad does it to us every Monday.
Oh, really?
He sends us if you watch our Instagram stories on Mondays, he sends us just a text with the video, 1 minute, one take, and he just says what's in his back pocket that week.
And you put some of this content on, I think.
We put it on our story.
You have a young dad.
55.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
55. Dude, guys, I'm going to be there pretty soon. That's 17 years older than me. 18.
Yeah, you're 13 years older than us. 14 years older than us.
Yeah. Have a kid. No, one thing I think, and I got to imagine a lot of your viewers are male or listeners.
No, we're like 56 male, 40.
Okay. But still, that's
Leans male.
Leans male.
I have this joke that if all men, straight men, got together and shared their cutest, most successful Valentine's Day dates ideas, that we would achieve world peace. Meaning, I just don't think there's enough dudes being like, like, I'm not saying you guys are locker room type kind of high five bros. I'm not saying that. But I don't think a lot of guys that I run into are like, hey, a really nice thing to do for your wife. You know what I mean? And I think more of those conversations can like move us forward as dudes. So if you listen to this.
So what's like a good thing to like, what do you got for us if we're gonna conquer world peace here?
You want me to tell you about a good Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Well, it was for a girlfriend, and I didn't marry her, so that's a little bit hot.
But like in the moment, it was like your half idea worked. You executed.
Yeah. Well, that was a break into a pool after a picnic. She didn't even know we were kind of on a date, and then it's like, here's the pic. Oh, that backpack is actually full of our, the cute wine bottle, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it was like, let's see if this hotel rooftop is open. I don't stay at this hotel, and she had no idea that I knew that there was a pool up there, and that in my jacket I had already gotten from her roommate her bikini.
That's cool.
So it's like, oh my God, how did we get up here? Well, I wish we had swimming suit. Oh my God, you have my swimming suit. That was pretty epic. I thought that was pretty epic.
That's sick.
Because then you're not doing that suggestive like, let's skinny dip only choice.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a little bit aggressive.
That's a little much.
Right. You handed the bikini. She smacks it out of your hands. Thanks for the offer.
Well, it's like, no, you're like, here, I'll turn away, right? You're like, you do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then
Cannonball.
Kate Jones. Kate Jones, if you're listening.
Just give a good quick sigh for Kate Jones.
Kate Jones. Come on, Kate. That was an epic date.
Never forget, dude. Never forget.
A lot of planning. Inexpensive, too. Okay.
So it's just like, I feel like the key to a good like date, regardless, is just like putting some good thought and half ideas towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like making it work. It's easy to come up with like a dinner date and just like get away with it, because it's more about the conversation and the dialogue than it is the experience. But man, if you like go that far, where you're like, let me kind of throw something at the table and make it work in some instance, and then get them to scramble a little bit. Like I kind of now have this almost rule or requirement. Like if I find a significant other before I like propose, I got to take them to a point where they're going to be mentally challenged.
Yeah,
like I want to take them to the top of 14er, but like don't tell them that we're like maybe or a good like a 14er or like if they go skiing with me and they have enough skills, I'll just be like, yeah, we're going down a nice green, and I'm going to take them down the hardest run without
Right.
them knowing. I want to see them in a tough moment before.
Fight or flight.
And see how we interact before I ever say yes or no.
I like that you're saying, so in your mind, she's also going to propose to you. I love that whole story.
Correct.
Got it. But then, okay, so being the elder
Theoretically.
being the elder statesman here then, because I can imagine you would settle for nothing less than a bold character, which it sounds like you're holding a gauntlet test for a bold character, which I respect.
They're going to have to show their boldness at that point.
Great. So this is Declan's potential wife. What's she doing to test you? Like, what's her version of this ski run thing?
Can't wait.
Right?
I'm here for it.
Right?
I can't wait. But that's how you find her, right?
Right.
That's how you find her.
Well, that was the thing with Goldie. When I met Goldie, I was just like, I felt like, and this is a cheesy thing to say, but it was like, I might not marry her if I don't, like, I got to move quick on this deal. Somebody's going to marry this great person. We're going to, what do you say? What's that thing that people say? Like locked it down or whatever, or like, put a ring on it. That kind of thing. It's like, that was a real vibe for me of like, I need to marry this person.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also didn't believe in marriage. I also thought I was never going to get married or have kids.
Wow.
So watch.
What year was that?
Like all through my 20s.
That's fair.
Yeah. I got married at like 31.
That's so smart though. Like, you know how many people that are our age that are getting married right now?
Are you leaving?
Goldie, you're heading out?
Can I do a little housekeeping wife thing right now?
Yes.
Don't worry about making the bed because I'm gonna need to change the sheets.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Sweaty.
Sweating.
Nice.
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 Don't make the bed.
Where are you going?
Don't make the bed. To tour preschool.
Can you come stand right here for 1 second? We're gonna feature this outfit.
Yeah. Wow.
Do a little spin.
That is a vibe.
Look at this. That's a
The
fake.
straight
That's
jeans.
a fake boob pin.
What?
High waisted. Come on.
I know you're a big fan of shoes. I love your shoes today.
Love. Come on. Give me a
Those are
kiss.
phenomenal
Give me a
shoes.
kiss.
Is this a,
In front of the guys.
I didn't think
Content.
it was like a video thing.
Oh yeah, we're
Video, podcast.
You guys are a video thing too.
Oh yeah.
The babysitter's gonna come get. Where's his bike? Oh, it's in the car. I'm gonna drop his bike.
Yeah, and the helmet's
Bikes
back
in the
there,
car.
Bikes in the car.
Bye, you guys.
Hey,
Bye,
great
Goldie.
to see you again.
Good to see you.
too. So just so you know, Andrew's been at our house.
4-hour podcast.
Yeah, I told him I didn't want to go long, and of course that's like when you say like on a big weekend, like let's go chill on Thursday, chill night Thursday. It's
Yeah.
like, that's always the epic night.
Yeah.
Of course.
Andrew's been at Karim Gym North like almost every morning for the last month. This dude came for the very first time, and like you're surprised, like I didn't know we were doing content. This cat pretty much shot the workout this morning. It feels
Yeah.
like.
With this brand new Canon.
Here.
You were. You're just right there.
Really, I was upstairs.
Yeah.
meeting you guys, drinking coffee.
When we were finishing the run, we saw the light go on, and
Yeah.
one of these dudes was like, "She's up."
She's up.
She's up.
I saw. Yeah.
I literally hear you guys. It's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an issue because it wakes me up naturally, but I hear the bass, and somebody dropped a kettlebell.
I did.
or
That was
something
me.
here.
That was
Bro.
me. I did. I apologized out loud verbally
I literally went
for it.
Is that you? And I woke. That's how I.
Sure.
I knew I rumbled.
But then just don't feel too bad because then I went upstairs and I went to you were sitting up drinking a cup of coffee, and I said, we should figure something out because it's probably and you go, no, I kind of like it.
I kind of like it because it wakes me up and I get to drink coffee.
Okay, good. Yeah, and just saying, future dad move.
Yeah.
And so I dropped it, and I verbally apologized, and then I let it down.
Yeah.
And then I went over to check the monitor.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
He, right
Yeah.
above this is our bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally,
But he does get that's an important point though. Like if you're gonna wake one of the two up, it's pretty close. But I think Goldie's a safer bet
Yeah.
than waking the kid up.
Especially as my first time here, you know.
It's fine. You're allowed. You get one pass. Somebody took a
One
shit.
pass.
One pass.
One pass.
Yes.
You heard of that?
Yeah. What's that?
Somebody took a shit in our house on their first.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
No way.
Literally against
Yeah,
the
that's my
rules.
bad. It wasn't
No
me
way.
who took the shit, but
Fuck it,
I didn't.
I don't care.
instill rules
It'll-
on my first guest.
It'll
that I
connect.
brought.
It'll connect the episodes. It was bio.
Yeah, it was
Like,
pot.
COVID, like the whole rule is like you're not.
Bio took a shit in your guys' house first time
Don't
ever?
take a shit ever in someone's house.
Well, first of all,
Right.
I've never been-
I was shocked. He walked in a little bit late, and we were gonna go do our warm up run.
Yeah.
And it was just us three standing here, and he's like, "I need to use the bathroom," and you're like, "Yeah, we just take a leak on the side of the house," and he goes, "No, it's number 2."
And he was
I
late.
can't believe that he was honest. I would have
Yeah.
literally shit in the cup.
And he was late, missing the run. He felt a little awk, and I was like, I don't have time to not If I go my usual route with this guy,
I looked you in. I saw that in your eyes.
and I was like, yeah, come on in. and look, I'm not like Goldie. I actually don't. I think it's I think it actually helps build the friendship. Shit in people's houses. I think if you can become friends with someone after that, go for it. Look, Goldie and I don't agree about everything. She doesn't want you shit in the house. Bio, if you're listening to this, you're in a tough spot with my wife.
Episode 286 bio, not looking good.
Porta potty.
You're in a tough
Bye.
Bye, Goldie. No, but see, you got the what are they called? Good wipes.
The good wipes.
He
Yeah.
could have took shit outside, buried it, called it a day.
So-
Good fertilizer.
So here's the deal. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna try this. I said it today at the end of the workout. I think when it comes to racial things, I think white men, myself from my own experience, were nervous to say the wrong thing. Okay? Bio is of Nigerian descent. He's like probably the only dark black African American in my neighborhood, and it's 5 a.m. He's brand new to this experience. I want him to come back for multiple reasons. He's a good athlete. He's a fucking rapper. He's young, and he's a person of color. Which, by the way, I'm not sure if we're using that term anymore. I'd listened to a podcast yesterday about it. Anyway, inconclusive. But I actually think there's something different about a white. If like let's say the police shine the lights and Andrew's peeing in my yard, I'm not worried about it. But it's a different life is a different experience for black people in the United States. So
100%.
Yeah.
so then this idea of this like dude go shit behind the fucking shed. Black people have a different experience in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to think that I have a friendship with him. He understands and navigates this little silly culture of Karim Gym North, and then he's back shitting behind the shed like in a month from now.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
But I also didn't want to put a new person of all those different identities that I just mentioned in that spot. So Bio, if you're listening,
Good
I'm
man.
sorry I said that you shit in my house. I'm sorry my wife hates you a little, but that's just the way that's going to go. And I think when it applies to privilege and whiteness, we should try to practice seeing the world through the eyes of Americans that aren't treated as fairly.
Right. And that's a goofy example, but it's very
It's a super-
but it's applicable. But it's very applicable.
To our friendship,
Correct.
that's a good example.
Yes.
And
Because when he said it, I looked at you directly. It was just us three. I looked at you directly. I'm like, don't make him do it. He's brand new. He's just showing up late. Don't make him do it. And then but it was without hesitation. He goes, yeah, I'll show you inside. And then I took off to go catch up. Everyone else was warming up, going to run at the park. And I was like, oh, phew.
totally. Well, and there's also a long play to it. There's a long play to. Let me give you a November Project example. We had this, and we I think it's still up actually. It's called the We Missed You page on the November Project website. And early on, we lived by this culture of at the end of a Wednesday workout, hey, are you going next week? You'd say yes. Declan, are you going? You'd say yes. And I would say, is that a verbal? And that question of like, is this for real? Let's lock it in. And if you drop a verbal, it means you're definitely going. Next week, Wednesday morning, 6:29, Harvard Stadium. Andrew's there. I'm there. Where's Declan? Slept in. We get some texts at 7:20. My alarm. Didn't make it. We put Declan on the We Missed You page, and it's this piece of writing. We pull these photos from his Facebook. He's eating pizza. We just basically burn
Burn him up.
We burn him up. But you can't do that We Missed You thing with people that are brand new.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that might be the reason that they never come back again.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it with people that are in the mix. So I think with the bio shit in the house thing,
Yeah.
I think in that moment, we needed the guy to be comfortable.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But eventually, like there should be a shirt. I mean, that should be called House Shitgate. And you don't know. And then like he gets the shirt, give him the Karim
Right.
Gym North one, but just on the back, on the top of the collar,
Right.
House Shitgate. And that's
Or-
his shirt.
Or like you can shit in the house.
Oh, don't shit in the house. Maybe that's just
No
like,
shitting in the house.
Just don't shit in the house.
Or like it's such a high price in things that you have to do. So for example, like you have to do yard work at my house for 3 weeks in a row. When I call you,
you're on call.
You're on call. So if like and I think it would be more of a female experience for for a woman to turn to me and be like, I'm not shitting in your yard. And me to go, how are you at raking leaves for 3 weeks, Betty? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Then she can buy that. She can be like, all right, cool. Yeah.
It's a trade-off.
Right. Because I think that's going to be awkward as Karim Gym North grows. New people that have to shit. we might have to do a second episode on this.
We will. We'll have to circle back on this for sure. It's interesting though. Are you worried or like what future outlooking on Karim Gym? Like, is this going to be a public event where people are showing up to your house?
So Karim Rafat and his wife Zoe
That's right. Karim is your brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, yeah. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's an MD. He's done 3 rounds of residency. He's a turbo human being. And when he had his first kid and now his 2 kids, they created a garage gym. I was in charge of the Instagram. A friend of ours was a photographer. So if you look up Karim Gym _, it's his gym experience, and it's pretty cool. But unlike November Project, because the space is so small, it can't be open to everyone. So very selfishly, Karim turned to me and said, I want people in my garage at 5 a.m. who make the environment better physically. And that's very against November Project. It's very against our ethos. So there's a divide. This isn't going to mix with November Project. And it'll look bad, actually, for me to build some of this stuff. But like, I want to build a garage where I'm the least fit guy in the room.
That's cool.
For me. So that I can get up and know that I'm going to push myself to try and keep up with you on the run, to keep up with you on the pull-ups. Like, it's a selfish endeavor.
Right.
It will be a group of very fit people that know how to throw the fuck down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I use the small garage as a little bit of a, not everyone can come. And frankly, with COVID, and now that it's going to get colder, that garage door is going to come down. We're going to throw the heater on. And I don't think we can have more than 5, 6, 7, 8 people in here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm having a blast describing what I get to do once a week.
Sure.
In detail.
Sure.
Of like I wake up at 4:40. I go to the suburbs to go meet up with this guy Brogan, who's got a garage gym that he started a month ago. And Declan put me in the loop of this, and I've been going consistently for about a month now. And the look on people's eyes is always, you doing what?
Totally.
Yeah, and I love it.
Totally.
It is unique. It fires me up that I have the opportunity to do this once a week because I know that day is going to be my best day of the week.
Oh, that's awesome.
I getting up at 4:40, I already know I won the day, and then voluntarily doing something to start your day before you putting in the work of your grind is amazing. So thank you for.
No, I appreciate it, and you bringing Bio into my life, and then Bio, of course, brought his partner Laura, his girlfriend Laura, and just the different kinds of people that you meet under the same umbrella of expectations of like it's going to be early, you can't be late, and if you shit in my house, you have to rake the leaves for 3 weeks. You know those kinds of things. Yeah. No, but it's been cool. Rules. It's been cool, and then of course we get him now. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's I don't expect a lot of people in their 20s to be making their way from uptown into their car onto the freeway out to Shorewood, Minnesota to do a workout in the garage. But I've seen crazier things happen in building community. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm really open to this experiment. I love kind of some of the branding and the tie-dye T-shirt. Like this idea of like I have a lot of the same one-trick pony type kit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
But then I also recognize that like some of the theatrics around like having lights on a glowing wall at 5 a.m. as you get out of your car is part of the experience, right?
100%.
And you designed that all yourself by using all the things that you've experienced and done in the past. But now you're just doing it for a specific and a different reason.
Totally. So it's whether it's something that didn't work or it's something that did work, I encourage people to go back there to try Google Glass and say like, yeah, let's figure out how to make this work. Going back to that guy, like, look. He said something that was so important. He goes, Google Glass didn't succeed in sales. He said, but the need for human beings with our vertebrae to go from this to this. He goes, that's still a need that will be accomplished, not in our lifetime, in the next handful of years, right? So you're on the bus and everyone's down. You're at a restaurant, everyone's down. Our necks literally are over these devices. Even walking down the street, it's still at an angle. He goes, we're heading to a technological place of this. He goes, so the space that Google Glass went into, even though it's dark based on sales, is a place we're going back to, and that will be the future of tech. And it was like, you could hear a pin drop in all of San Francisco. It was wild. We're just like, right. Anyway, if you're listening to this, find the spots in life that you were excited about that didn't work out and look at them again. Look at them again and know that you were right. Follow your gut on those things because it takes a lot of courage to come up with crazy ideas. It takes way more to bring them into execution and even more to go back and like figure that last twist to try it again.
Cheers to that.
I love that, dude.
We got 2 final questions for you.
I love it.
First one being, we grow, like we mentioned, standing on the shoulders of our guests. Who do you challenge to have on the show that would be in your circle, or would be someone in the community that would be like, you need to have this person on? It could be someone you're connected to, could be someone very far off.
I want you to. I challenge. So the challenge is going to you and the guests. So that
No, just coming to us and say, hey, I want to see this person on your show.
But that's a good point. You can challenge the guest. Hey, get on this guy's podcast.
Yeah.
That also helps us.
Yeah. I challenge Raekwon of the Black Foxes. I have. If you look on that skateboard over there, and if you look at the top of that whiteboard, the Black Foxes. Well, Raekwon is he's a killer athlete.
It's a bike.
Yep, it's an all black bike
Yeah, I see it.
collective that exists all over the world. But it's basically questioning the outdoor industry and specifically cycling for the lack of representation and for the kind of unfair looks that black and brown people get for being on bikes. Bye-bye, Bubs. Hey, Bubba, can you come give Daddy a kiss?
Hi, Lumi.
Come here, bud.
You're looking great.
Come here, bud. It's not on the lip.
Don't trip on the
I thought he was
courts.
going to.
Athlete.
Nice athlete. Picked his knees up.
Yeah.
That's Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz. You're the best.
So Raekwon is a Nordic ski athlete. He's an endurance athlete. He's a cyclist, and I don't want to give away his story, but recently executed this idea that was a tribute to I don't know if it was 30 or 50 African Americans who were killed at the hands of police brutality, and he did it by cycling, I think 80 or 90 miles every day for 10 days. So I guess it was 10 tributes, and he wore their name on a white shirt, and it was like this really profound, super simple thing. 8:46, I think, was the time that George Floyd was on the ground before he was pronounced dead. So it was 846 miles total in 10 days. So 84. I could be getting the wrong. But anyway, I heard of this, and then he's since come to Karim Gym North. So he's a guy that I'm like a fan of and potential friends with, and I hope that he's listening to this, and I hope that you guys get him on.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
I would
sounds
listen.
amazing.
I would listen to that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
Awesome.
All right. Now our final question. Very in the moment, present day question here. What did you learn today from the time you woke up and prepped Karim Gym for us today to the time we're actually recording right now in your garage?
What did I learn today? I learned that the recipe is still good and that racing is still fun. The actual workout itself, sometimes I don't give enough credit to what's on the board. I sometimes say it's just stuff. It's shit your grandfather was. It's simple stuff. But putting thought into details of certain things doesn't always pay off. But I think this morning I learned that it pays off in this environment. This is the Nike kitchen. We're trying stuff here. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that to take this environment and continue to change it, to add the racing element like we did at the end, those 3 rounds for time, like that's something that gives me purpose as an individual, but as a leader and as a member of this group. What did I learn? I learned that y'all are as or slightly more professional than I thought and hoped. I'm not just trying to force a compliment, but I couldn't tell with you. You guys are so chill that I was like, are these guys clowns or are these guys like assassins? You know what I mean? Like I couldn't tell. And you play a straight game, and then you're like out there. You're the pit viper. I get it. I see what you're doing. You know. So anyway, I am happily, and to meet you, I think that from the beginning, the content you were shooting, the lighting, that I'm seeing this unfold, and having so many friends and connections in content creation and filmmaking, podcast hosting, artists. To see y'all show up and to be able to hit the ground and to do it on this canvas, one that you haven't ever been to, like, I'm not surprised. I'm happily confirmed in my assumption that y'all like the workout on the board. You know that you bring as many details as you can. I think this is guesswork, but then when it works out, you're able to look back and be proud of those choices. So,
And that's what this podcast is. You get to look back at it now and be like, this is a moment in time, a time where the details actually worked out.
totally.
Because it comes full circle again. I mentioned it earlier. Like I said, hey, Brogan, can you come on the podcast? He said, yeah, but can we do it outside? And I say, interesting request. I've never gotten that before. And then I just had to start thinking about how to record a podcast outside.
Yep.
And then we find a day, we book it, and then just a bunch of crazy stuff happens. And again, thankfully, you weren't able to make it.
No, totally.
Thankfully, you weren't able to make it. Because good things come with time, and it's worth waiting for the good things in life. And I think that's what this is. But nonetheless, like we have done what, 3 or 4 outdoor podcasts now
Since then, yes.
Since the time you just asked if we could do it.
Yeah.
And we figured it out.
Man.
Challenge us in a new realm.
Yeah.
Well, and I saw y'all on the boat. I was really proud of you. Like, I feel like I feel like our friendship is further down the road than it actually is. Like, when I saw the boat thing, I was like, those are my boys. They did it.
Did it.
I was like, we did it.
We did it.
I literally, I don't even know these cats. At all. And then, it's also I admire the way that y'all come to this with a humble nature, and I also recognize what it is that you do and the education that you get. Like, you're on a pretty exciting ride where these people get to bring their experiences to you. It's a really nice, privileged thing that you get, which is like, well, what if you got to sit down with a bunch of really interesting people? Like, that's what for you, it's a really special thing that you get to have forever. I also will say, you mentioned the dojo, the place that you do most of your recordings, and I see these people sit on that couch, kind of sinking into the comfort of it. It's a cozy environment. Y'all are looking like just like fish in water. Like, it's so much your zone. And there was something about it, because I knew you had a big personality, and I knew you were a driver of so much of this culture. I was just like, I feel like for the 3 of us, that ain't it. And I'm not saying some guests should be on the couch and that's less. That's not what I'm saying. But like, as a trio here, we're a little bit more unhinged and uncaged. And so I appreciate that y'all came out here, but it also feels like more of a fitting environment.
Correct.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
We were meant to be out
well, the
here.
experience from the very beginning. Declan, put on your fucking mask. It's 5 a.m. We're doing this work. Sweating the thing. So like, this has been a full experience as opposed to like walking in. Hi, I'm Brogan. Where's the couch? Oh, so can I sit here? Like, that's just a different way to get to know
Such
you.
a good point.
So,
Such a good point, man.
yes. So thank you. Thank all you guys. I appreciate it.
You're the man.
That's a wrap.